Would like to call the the town board meeting, the Town of Lake Mills notice of public hearing. A notice was given by the town board of the Town of Lake Mills that a public hearing will be held on the 10th day of September 2019 at the Town Hall at 1111 South Main Street, Lake Mills, at 8 p.m. to consider the proposed all-terrain vehicle and utility terrain vehicle route ordinance. The town board will consider the request at the monthly board meeting directly following the adjournment of the public hearing. A draft of the proposed ordinance can be found on the town's website, Ordinance 6-6 ATV and UTV routes, proposed draft 81319. All persons wishing to be heard are invited to be present. Town of Lake Mills, Robin Untz, Town Clerk, posted and published August 20th, 2019. I hereby call the public hearing to order, and anyone who wishes to speak about the proposed all-terrain and utility terrain vehicle may please approach the podium, give us your name and address and your comments, and then we will go forward. There will be no discussion in this part of the hearing, just testimony from you, the citizens. Does anyone would like to speak?
Right here anyway.
Thank you, Larry.
I'm Larry Sieb at 6521 Sherwood Hills Road. And I've got three things I'd like the board to consider as part of their deliberations on this. One of the things I'm concerned about is the safety of the riders and the town residents. ATV, UTV vehicles are not designed for use on roads, and all manufacturers' manuals state they're not to be used on roads. The high center of gravity and the low pressure tires make them prone to tip overs, and there's other items in the design that just aren't suitable for highways. And in 2018, there were 161 incidents, as the Bureau of Law Enforcement reports, and with ATVs and UTVs residing in 26 fatalities and 154 injuries. Of the 26 fatalities in 2018, 11 occurred on roads. Of the 26 fatalities, I shouldn't type this. I have too many typos in there, I can no longer say the word. The 26 deaths in 2017, 15 occurred on roads. And as far as the town residents goes, at least on Sherwood Hills Road where I live, there's a lot of non-vehicle traffic there. We have a lot of people walking, running, biking on that road. It's a narrow road with blind curves and blind hills. Often there's landscapers and construction vehicles parked on it, which is just another, makes the road even smaller than it already is. And adding ATVs and UTVs to that mix, I think, is an increased risk to the pedestrians on that road. The second concern I have is the increased demand on our first responders. In 2018, law enforcement officers in Wisconsin issued 1,430 citations on ATVs or UTVs. The most common citation was illegal operation of an ATV on or in the vicinity of a highway. And it's useful to note that the top 10 citations are mostly reckless or dangerous operation, including intoxication. And then the third item is the noise of the ATVs. They're limited by law not to exceed 96 decibels. To put that in perspective, that's approximately twice as loud as a Harley when it comes out of the factory. Now, not all of them operate at this limit, but exceeding the 96 decibel limit in 2017 was in the top 15 of all citations listed that year. So, the statistics came from the Wisconsin Recreational Vehicle Safety Education and Enforcement Report from the Bureau of Law Enforcement of the DNR, and I think Robin has copies of that you can look at. And just to add to that, I just wanted to give you a copy of the citations, just the top citations.
Kerry Denson, N6545, Shorewood Hills Road, Town of Lake Mills. The subject is the ATV UTVs on Shorewood Hills Road. As the Lake Mills Town Board considers the use of town roads for ATV UTV use, Shorewood Hills Road should not be included as an approved route. The primary reason is safety. The road does not have a shoulder. The road also has a lip on each side that turns up for approximately 1 foot on the edge of the road. This could cause an ATV, UTV to swerve back into traffic if attempting to get off the road due to traffic. There are several places on the road where the upslope beside the road meets the pavement. The ATV, UTV, if an ATV, UTV were to meet 2 cars going in each direction, the ATV, UTV would have to move onto the pavement, forcing the adjoining car into the oncoming car's lane. There are 2 blind curves on Shorewood Hills Road. If a car coming up behind the ATV, UTV encountered them on these blind curves, with a car coming in the opposite direction, they would either hit the ATV, UTV, or swerve onto the oncoming car, a head-on collision. One of these blind curves has no shoulder, with the adjoining upslope meeting the pavement. There is no place for the ATV, UTV to escape. Noise. Many of us established our homes on Shorewood Hills Road for its peace and serenity. With the increased building between County Roads B and S, we already have an increase in traffic and noise. Motorcycles coming through the area are very loud and obnoxious. Adding ATVs and UTVs to the traffic would further diminish our peace and tranquility. An exemption. If the board approves using some roads in the town of Lake Mills, the residents on Shorewood Hills Road that own an ATV, UTV should be given an exemption to drive from their home and back to gain access to the Lake Mills Town Road approved for ATV to UTV use. Out and back, not cruising up and down Shorewood Hills Road. They would be directed to use the upper Shorewood Hills Road to avoid the 2 blind curves between where upper Shorewood Hills Road joins Shorewood Hills Road. Almost every street in this township is Shorewood is something. The bottom line, I am against Shorewood Hills Road being included as an ATV, UTV approved route with the exception noted in paragraph 4 above. Are there any questions from the board? Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Well, I guess myself, I know there's a lot of people, farmers and stuff, that want to be on other roads. My access, Martin Butzney, sorry, N6610 East White Oak Drive. My main access is to be able to get on Shorewood Hills Road to get over to the park to get onto the lake, to get to the boat landing and get onto the lake in the wintertime. That's the basic access that I'm looking for. Probably not going to go around on most of the roads unless there was an occasion where I would need to, but if there wasn't access on Shorewood Hills Road, that would restrict me from getting from my house, which is about 2 blocks, to get onto the lake in the wintertime for fishing.
Anyone else would like to speak?
Mike Orcutt, N6608 East White Oak Drive. I'm basically for the ATVs, UTVs in the township of Lake Mills. We've seen it in other townships adjoining us in Waterloo Township, we're looking at Aspen right now, we're looking at a number of different townships around us that are that are approving ATVs, UTVs, and I think it's something that's it's eventually going to come to our district as well. Personally, I would like to have it because I could use my UTV on White Oaks Lane going out to, I work at a Paradigm farm out there. I also work at the farm on the corner of S and BB, White Oaks Vineyard, and so I could use that for going to both businesses anyway. So I think, you know, I don't see any reason. My vehicle is below I guess the concern that you have as far as the noise limits anyway. And I'm not out there to make noise. I obey the speed limits with my vehicle. It's all road ready. I have all the licenses, farm licenses and everything else. So my license is my vehicle is already licensed to go on the roads as it is right now. So I'm for it, and so if there's any objections, I'd like to talk to them, the people that are objecting to it, though.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else?
Kurt Orcutt. I live at W8696 County Road B. I guess I'm the one that brought this to the township probably 7-8 months ago. I'm for it. I've been an avid ATV rider. I use it for farm use also, as my dad stated. I know there's safety concerns to them, and that's one of the things that we all are concerned about is safety. We don't want to see any of our residents or people that are visiting our township be injured by it. The discussions that are brought up about the safety of a berm on the road or the way that the road attaches to a ditch or earthen ditchways, the ATVs by law have to take the same roadway as what a car does. So we're not going to be worried about a car coming this way, a car passing us this way. That car that's behind us has to follow the same rules as the ATV. So there shouldn't be passing going on. They're going the same speed as everybody else. So for those that live in Sherwood Hills that want to have this access, if ATV is going 25 miles an hour down through the road, which is the posted speed limit there, and a car is behind it doing the posted speed limit of 25, and the ATV is in the right of way of what a car would take, there's no reason that we should have to worry about safety issues, anything like that. An ATV is a lot narrower than what a car is. If we have congestion issues with construction, lawn care people, it should be easier to navigate through the streets. You shouldn't have to worry about two cars having to squeeze through an area. You got a UTV that's going through or an ATV. The concern with alcohol and fatalities because of alcohol, I'm not asking for this so that I can go bar hopping. I'm asking for this so I can go out like some of my friends and we can go out as a group, go to a place, a restaurant, go to a park, have a good time together, share an experience together, not being out worrying about drinking. You're not supposed to be drinking and driving, so we don't promote that. I guess when you're comparing it against registrations on snowmobiles, licensing, motorcycles, cars, and the fatality rates, the rates of fatalities on UTVs and ATVs is actually pretty low compared to the number of registrations that's out there. So I guess I'm for it. I think that the town board has done a good job putting the ordinances together so that we have rules to abide by with the sound, with the lighting, with, you know, just making sure that everything's posted so people that come to our township know, and hopefully we'll all be able to enjoy it and bring some business to our township and be able to grow with everybody else around us, so.
Thank you, Kurt. Anyone else would like to speak? Go ahead, Barb.
Barb Dawson, Cedar Lane. My concerns are kind of expressed as questions because I don't know a lot about ATVs. My questions were, will all the roads and streets be open to ATVs or will there be dedicated roads? And will they be allowed on dead-end residential streets? And will areas have any limitations on hours of operation? And I don't know, this is one of my questions, I don't know, are there other public roads in Jefferson County open to ATV travel? And if not, will we be the island of ATV use? And I know we have motorcycles and snowmobiles that also make, if we're talking about the noise level, we have a lot of motorcycles, we have snowmobiles, but they're seasonal use, and motorcycles particularly are generally going somewhere, like someone said, some going to work, that type of thing. And I'm picturing ATVs as more of a recreational, enjoy going down the road type of thing, which I prefer not to have on my street. So those are my questions, which kind of get the idea of my concerns. So thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? I have written a position paper, and I guess I'll stand up like everybody else. Read my position. My name is Hope Wozdike. I live at W8357 Cedar Lane. My opinion and position on adoption of this ordinance is as follows. I do not believe that I can support this ordinance that has been put forward by the township. I will be voting no at the adoption of this ordinance at tonight's town meeting. My reasoning is as follows. Number one, safety. I do not believe that these vehicles are designed to be operated on our roadways. The tires, the center of gravity, and the safety records speak loudly of the design flaws these vehicles bear. I do not agree with the ages and the safety features required to operate one of these vehicles. This will place an added burden upon our police force. There are simply too many opportunities for injury and accidents on our rural roads. I referenced the WDNR accident reports and annual reports to substantiate these facts. Item 2, noise and nuisance. Noise and nuisance, two of the most tough things for the town of Lake Mills to handle. I do not want to handle all of the complaints associated with the noise of these machines, and I feel that the rating of 96 decibels exceeds the comfort level acceptable to our citizens. If we are having trouble accepting the fan noise at Daybreak Foods of 45 decibels, how will our citizens tolerate the noise from these vehicles? I do not see future modifications to the allowable decibel level changing on the state or federal level. I personally find this noise objectionable in residential areas. Item 3, the lack of destinations and the areas of use. Since these vehicles are not allowed on county-designated roadways, where will these vehicles be operated? There is literally no place to go with these vehicles. I do not believe that the county will change its position on ATV, UTV use upon county highways, despite the efforts of the ATV clubs to enlist support from the townships. I do not support the use of these vehicles in our parks or upon the icebound waters of Rock Lake, Mud Lake, or Hope Lake, or any of our other town roads. Residents seeking agricultural use are permitted at this time to use county routes. These exceptions are permitted by state statute, and I do not feel these rights should be expanded beyond agricultural permits. I will work actively to promote a flotation ordinance for icebound vehicles if this ordinance is enacted by the town board. My fourth point, ecological responsibility. In light of scientific evidence that our planet is warming, I do not believe it is a good step for the township to encourage ATV, UTV traffic on town roads. These vehicles are useful for some, but gas-guzzling entertainment centers for many. They are expensive and not environmentally friendly. The use of these machines adds to our carbon footprint and reduces the protective ozone layer of our planet. Individual actions to reduce gasoline consumption can help deter the effects of global warming. I do not at this time support adding these vehicles to a list of machinery that can be operated on our town roads. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak or has something they would like to say?
Yeah.
Come to the podium.
Speaking of things I'm Jim like there. I live on Crossroads, Lake Mills, been a town resident all my life. But I want to tell you that things are environmentally friendly. They try to do things environmentally friendly, and we should be doing things environmentally friendly. But there's twisted my people that don't do things environmentally friendly anyway. I mean, because they want to make other type of noises too, especially on warm weather nights on the weekend. That really is bad. That's totally out of whack for environmental friendly. But we have to find new policies to stop manufacturing things that are not environmental friendly. And I don't mean just more vehicles, but something that you can hear over a mile away. We know what that is. I've been calling you about that a lot of times. Right in my neighborhood, like I told you, there's been nine places dating back 8 years ago that been shooting off these loud things, and that completely is environmentally unfriendly, and it also knocks the wildlife out of kilter too. And wildlife is not going to produce and go be there, and they aren't going to be there for a harvest either if they keep this up.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What Jim is referring to is the fireworks that he has been observing in his neighborhood. I appreciate it. Fireworks laws are, again, one of the loosey-goosey things in the state of Wisconsin statutes. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment? Carl?
I think there's alternatives here that are available, commercial ones, for people that like to have motors and run them fast and enjoy a lot of noise. And we have one right out on I-94. I guess that's a dirt bike facility there. And then down on 18, we have the stock car type track. But mostly I'm worried about this from a safety angle, and I would really feel badly if I was driving a car and because of the difference in vehicle heights and everything, I crested a hill and there's an ATV in front of me. I had no idea it was there because it's so much lower than standard cars on the road. And I don't think, sometimes being an older guy, I can react as fast as I used to do with those things. But that's to me a big concern. The other concern is the noise within the neighborhoods will go up, and we do have quite a bit of money into our homes here, and that's, you'd like to have a place of rest after your day of work. So thank you for the time.
Carl? Anyone else who would like to speak? Hearing none, I would accept a motion to close the public hearing. We don't need to do that.
Yeah, just close the public.
All right, we'll close the public hearing. It is now 8:22. Thank you very much. Moving along. We have another public hearing. We'll begin. The notice was hereby given to the town board of the town of Lake Mills that a public hearing will be held on the 10th of September 2019 at the town hall, Lake Mills, Wisconsin, after another public hearing, which will begin at 8 p.m. to consider the proposed request for a conditioned use to allow a lawn care and landscaping business in a proposed commercial zone for CRW Company, LLC, owner Chandler White at N7008 Rock Lake Road, parcel number 018-1713-0233-030. The town board will consider the request at the monthly board meeting directly following the adjournment of the public hearing. All persons wishing to be heard are invited to be present. Dated August 26, 2019. Is there anyone here who would like to speak about the conditional use permit applied for by Mr. White? Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this issue? Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this issue? All right, Chandler, come to the podium and tell us who you are and what you're up to.
I'm Chandler White. I own the property in N7008 Rock Lake Road. I'm looking to rezone the property from natural resources to a community zone. I'm using it, I'm also asking to get a conditional use permit to store my equipment and material for my landscaping business. That's about it.
I'm assuming that you think it's a great idea. All right.
Yeah.
Have anything else you'd like to say?
I'd like to also, if permitted, put a chain link fence along the property line that runs along Rock Lake Road for security purposes. And then also put a gate across the entrance into the property.
All right, thank you. We can discuss this later as we review your conditional use permit. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Anyone else who would like to speak? We'll move then to close the public hearing and move on to our agenda. All right, I'd like to call the regular town board meeting of the town of Lake Mills to order. It is September 10th, 2019. We have completed the 2 public hearings, and the notice for this meeting was posted at the town hall and also on the town of Lake Mills website, along with copies of the ordinances that we reviewed tonight, Barb. Item 2 is the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as published?
I'll make a motion to adopt September's agenda as printed.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda as published, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. The agenda is adopted. Item 3, approval of the minutes from our August 13th, 2019 meeting.
Have a correction, item number 5, you've got me making a motion and seconding it. So I believe I made the motion and Dave made the second. I'll make that correction.
Good eye. Any other additions or corrections to the minutes from August?
Make a motion to approve the August 13th, 2019 minutes with that correction. Second.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as published, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. I'll make that correction. Item 4 is the approval of the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve September's treasurer's report. Second.
Is there any discussion or questions on the treasurer's report?
Just a question, Sharon. The Jefferson County Treasurer's 2019 August payback of 2018 tax roll. I mean, we really like that under $51,000.
That's a
but
typo.
oh, okay.
218.
That's in the disbursements? Yes.
No, that's
in the
in
revenue.
receivables.
So what
Well,
is
they
the,
paid it in this August date. That one would be right. But it's from the 2018 tax roll.
Yeah.
so then it's listed correctly?
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
listed correctly.
Any other questions or discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve? We did that.
Yeah.
All in favor of approving the treasurer's report, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. Treasurer's report is accepted. On to the approval for the general fund vouching.
I'll make a motion to approve September's disbursements of $119,000 and $82.36. Second the motion.
Is there any discussion or questions?
Nope.
I see we have a couple of people who have filed their Clean Boats, Clean Water wages. I wonder if we're all caught up.
We will have one more person that has September hours.
All right.
We should be all right.
Okay,
And it's
good.
only a few.
All right. And is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the general fund vouching, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Vouching is carried. Item 6, reports. A, the police report, Matt.
For the water patrol, in the month of August, we had 191 and a half hours of lake patrol hours logged. We issued 15 citations, 3 warnings, did 27 compliance and safety inspections, and assisted 1 vessel. For the road patrol, we only had 32 hours of road patrol, handled 5 complaints, had 11 traffic stops, issued 1 repair notice, 3 warnings, 9 citations, ran 9 hours of stationary radar, did 1 residence check, 9 park patrols, and a total of 3 extra patrols monitored. Squad car currently is down. It goes in for maintenance. We had a coil go out in it and it needs to go in. It's under warranty, so it'll be back up hopefully this Friday. PWC was going to be pulled out the other day, but because of the squad acting up, we couldn't get it out. So we're looking at running the boat patrol at least till the end of the month. Other than that, that's about it.
Anyone have any questions for Matt? Hearing none. Thank you very much, and thank your officers for giving us a safe summer. Item B, Joint Rock Lake Committee report.
We had a very small meeting.
Hearing none, we'll move on. Item C, Planning Commission report. Jim.
The Chandler White zoning to community was approved, and the conditional use was approved. For Daybreak Foods, the 2 underground permits were approved 5-0, and the 1 above road privilege was approved 4-1. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Item D, any other committee reports?
No, ma'am.
Nothing coming from the Cambridge Fire Department.
October.
All right, tonight, item 7, the period of public comment and questions is for anything that is not on the agenda for discussion purposes only. I guess that I would like to limit the discussion on the application reviews this evening to a dull roar. I just think that we need to be a little more conservative with that, so that if you have comments or questions that you would like to make on any of the 5 items that are on the application review, now would be the time to do that. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment on any other topic? Hearing none. Moving right along. Item A, discussion and decision of a request for a special event made by the Tyranina Brewing Company for their annual Oktoberfest bike ride to be held September 28th, 2019. The application is in front of you. I believe this is the 17th annual running of the ride.
You're doing the ride one?
Oh, I'm doing the wrong
17th.
one. Here.
That was right.
No, that's right.
17th. Yeah. 17th annual.
The ride.
The ride.
Begins at 10 a.m. End with dinner and live entertainment at the brewery. Expect riders to occupy pre-planned routes during a 2 to 6 hour window. Exact course times for each participant will depend on their departure time, route length, and personal experience. 2 routes, approximately 25 and 50 miles, take riders through Jefferson County. And these are all new routes for 2019. Along each route will be manned rest areas as well as SAG support. We coordinate traffic control with local police departments, sheriff department, and the JCECs.
I'll make a motion to approve the special events for Tyranina Brewery for the bike ride on 9/28 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Everything's a loop.
Hearing none, moving right along. All in favor of approving the special event by Tyranina Brewing for their annual October bike ride on September 28th?
All in favor? You just say all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Item B, discussion and decision on a request for a special event made by Tyranina Brewing Company for their annual Tyranina Beer Run to be held on November 2nd, 2019. 14th annual event, this charity run has 13.1 run and 4.37 mile run only routes featuring Rock Lake. Each route begins and ends at the Brewing Company in Lake Mills. Stations providing water, Gatorade, and restrooms are located approximately every 2 to 3 miles of both routes. The routes are all available online. Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve the application for Tyranina Beer Run.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the special permit application for the Tyranina Brewing Company for the November 2nd beer run, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same side. Both events are passed. Item C, discussion and decision on a request to create a 1.45 acre community zone from an existing natural resource zone for CRW Company LLC, owner Chandler White at N7008 Rock Lake Road, parcel number, you heard me read it before. Chandler, do you want to present to us again? Just come in case there are any questions. Explain to us why you're seeking the community zone.
So I can properly run my business out of there.
All right. Do you guys have any questions for him?
Not on this one.
All right. Don't move, just stay here. All in favor of approving the,
Well, I gotta make it.
all right.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for Chandler White to rezone from natural resources to community.
I will second it.
Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the 1.4 acre community zone for Chandler White at N7008 Rock Lake Road, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. So that part is passed. Item D, discussion and decision on a request for a conditional use permit to allow a lawn and landscape business in a proposed community zone for CRW Company LLC, owner Chandler White at N7008 Rock Lake Road. This is where we should talk about what you have intention to do up there. So let's go back over that. You're going to run a landscaping business there, and you have some other thoughts that you would like to bring forward.
To add some material bins that are currently there that I wasn't aware that couldn't change the property until I was properly zoned, so I apologize for that. There's a parking area that is also added that I put a retaining wall in to hold everything properly. That's going to be used as a parking area for my dump trucks and trailers. And then also the chain link fence and gate across the west side of the property on Rock Lake Road side.
Let's talk a little bit more about the chain link fence and the gate. Where are you gonna put the fence? Is that gonna be right down the edge of the road right away? Is it gonna have a setbacks?
Whatever's allowed, I guess.
Okay. Gate?
I just want to put like a 20-foot bar or so, just hooked up to another post on the other side, just so people can't enter when they're not permitted to, I guess.
Right, yeah, I understand that. Where were you looking to locate that gate? Besides the west driveway, I get that.
Wherever it's permitted, I guess.
Because one thing you have to look at there is your gate has to be placed far enough up your driveway for the longest vehicle that's going to be entering into there. So that if you're gonna pull in and unlock the gate, your full vehicle has to be off the road.
Okay.
And you can get out, open your gate and drive right in. The same for when you're leaving, because I'm assuming you're gonna lock up when you leave, so. Keep that in mind, that's what you have to do as far as the chain link fence. I think there, Jim, right down the property line, because there'll be a line fence.
I think
It's
it's a
gotta be
foot
off.
off,
Yeah, the foot off so they can maintain both sides.
Right, yeah.
it's just a foot off.
So,
Is there any rules, so Rock Lake, it goes up a hill and then it goes up to my property, am I allowed to put it on that property line, or does it have to be a certain amount of feet off that?
the fence?
Yes,
Yeah, 1 foot.
1 foot, okay.
1 foot off the road right away.
Okay.
So we're developing some conditions, and I think we should talk about the outdoor storage part of your business. I know that you're going to want to store landscape materials, mulch, those kinds of things.
Yep.
One of the things that I guess becomes an irritation in a conditioned use is if there is a great deal of outdoor storage of equipment or boats, campers, those kinds of things. I guess I would like to place that condition on him too. I'm not exactly totally familiar with the community zone. I don't know what is allowed and what is not allowed.
Can find out. It's an old one, but I think it's principal use. Make sure I'm in the right. Principal use, single-family detached home, parks, conservancy areas, group homes, and single-family dwellings, 8 or fewer occupants. Conditional use would be church, school, a whole list of things. I think there's contractor, general merchandise stores, food stores, building materials, hardware, garden supplies, automotive dealers. Well, pretty much anything that's in a business is allowed in a community zone also. There's construction, offices, things like that.
There is no caveat for outdoor storage though.
No.
You can park your own boat there. You can park your own camper there, but you can't do it for money.
Okay, so the conditions that I guess we're asking for are the installation of the fence, and it be 1 foot off of the property line so that either side of the fence can be maintained. Also, the space that Dave suggested that we allow where the gate is so that you have a full parking place for your vehicle off of the roadway as you open the gate.
Okay.
That's the second condition. And the third condition is no commercial outdoor storage use.
Okay.
For hire.
Yeah. Commercial. That's kind of what I was getting at. Where money changes hands. Understood? Right. I would motion to approve the conditional use permit to allow a lawn and care and landscaping business in the proposed community zone for CRW Company LLC, Chandler White.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, at the Plan Commission, you had a list of things also there in your application, but it was signs, and you were told that if you ever go down that route as far as letting the public in to purchase things and stuff, that you need a sign permit in the county. Sewer would be extraterritorial zoning with the city, and then you'd also have to come to the whole town for a subdivision ordinance, which has business and stuff too. So if you ever go down that, I would just like that to be put on his conditional use also, so that he's aware of it. And down the line, somebody pulls that out. And these are the things that you need to do.
For the sign, am I allowed to advertise other people's businesses? Is that a different?
That would be a county thing, and I don't know if it's a commercial or community. I don't know if they allow that. But they do allow it on business properties, right? Yeah.
It'll have to be covered by the county sign ordinance. Right, did you have enough time to record the conditions that Jim wants included?
I looked at the list from the Plan Commission information as well. I've got the video as well. So, and Chandler, one thing, you paid the $100 for the conditional use. There's also another $100 for the zoning fee too. That needs to be paid.
Okay, I will pay that ASAP.
Right, we have a motion on the floor. Do you think that I should withdraw that motion and make another one? Right, we have a motion on the floor and we have a number of conditions. Do you want to read those conditions to us?
I don't have them all jotted down.
Okay, well then we better do
Watch the
it.
video.
Oh, is that how you're gonna pull it up?
That way I get the exact wording.
Okay. Basically, let's recap it. We're looking at a fence with a setback off the property line. We're looking at a gate with a space for you to park while you open that. We're looking at
Mine?
no outdoor commercial storage of recreational vehicles or other vehicles, and your additions were,
Just a reminder that when you go for a sign, sewer, and that you would need to come to the town for a subdivision ordinance and the city for extraterritorial zoning.
Okay.
all right. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. I'll call the question. All in favor of approving the zoning conditional use permit for lawn and landscaping business, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Thank you, Chandler. We appreciate you going through the process. Item E, discussion and decision on a request for 3 separate above-ground and underground easements for the conveyor and pipeline at Daybreak Foods on Crossman Road. Good evening, Rick. Good evening, Corey. Thank you for being here.
So, would you like me to start?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate being able to be in front of the board this evening. After numerous interactions with the town's engineer, having passed approval last week by the Town of Lake Mills Plan Commission, Daybreak Foods is respectfully requesting approval of 2 items. One would be a set of permits for under-the-road utilities that would go underneath Crossman Road in 2 specified areas that have been submitted in plans previously to serve for water, wastewater, wash water, communication lines, and we've added in a culvert for site drainage. And those would basically go from the east side of Crossman Road over to the west side. Some of those would serve our feed mill, and some would serve the rest of the site, and eventually they go through the back of our current site and would feed over to the Pullet site over on Highway A. The second thing is a privilege to construct an over-the-road feed conveyor that would run from our new feed mill located on the west side of Crossman Road, and would cross Crossman Road at approximately 35 feet above the ground and be constructed on towers. And that feed would come from the feed mill, cross over just to the layer site, and feed the 5-layer buildings on the east side of Crossman Road. In the process of working through this with the Plan Commission, there have been several items that were suggested through the town's engineer that we have addressed in this process. Some questions that have come up during the process have been addressed in the Plan Commission and in a meeting with the town board a month ago. But just to recap some of that, so there were some people asking about, well, what are the options? For the most part, the way Daybreak understands it is the under-the-road utilities are a more common request and require the permitting, while the over-the-road is a privilege and something we'd be asking for. And the options for the conveyor could be possibly trucking it instead of using a conveyor system. The issues that we see with trucking would be, it would be probably a 24-hour day operation. We actually do it at a site in Iowa right now, and I can tell you it would be 24 hours a day, probably 7 days a week. It's very busy. A lot of feed would have to cross that road on trucks. It would have quite a large carbon footprint, and just kind of basing it off earlier comments made this evening. And of course, then you just have more noise and traffic going on Crossman Road. Under the road option was considered. We took that to Vita Builders, our contractor, and asked them what options we would have there. And we could take the conveyor off the mill and drop down, go down a leg, go under the road, and come back up again. Unfortunately, that would create larger structures on each side of the road, probably create more additional noise and distraction, I guess would be probably the right word. And neither of those were really very favorable to us. And so that's why we went down the avenue of doing an over-the-road conveyor. We have proposed this over-the-road conveyor, I think, since a year and a half to 2 years ago, when I think I was first in this room and other people with Daybreak, and did proposals to the town board and to the county. And so this has always really been in our plan. We did check on what the decibel levels is for a conveyor like this, and it would be less than 50 dB. To give you some sense for that, 40 dB is a library, 45 dB is about your refrigerator running in your kitchen, 50 dB is a whisper quiet conversation. Actually did a test on that today. I was in a meeting and somebody held up a dB meter and said, Rick, you're talking at 62 dB right now. And I don't know if that was loud or not, but it was an interesting comment. When would the conveyor run was a question that was asked. And so I asked our operations people that question. The conveyor would typically run from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, occasionally on weekends, and that would happen typically if it's a holiday weekend. And the example that was given to me is what they will typically do will be they'll make feed on a Friday so their employees can have off on Sunday and say a Monday holiday. So they might bump into a Saturday. We have a draft engineering that we're ready to engage with Vita Builders, who has an engineering side to them that would do an annual inspection on the over-the-road conveyor, and that would tie in with our preventative maintenance program for that as well. We feel it would aesthetically fit into the environment. In agriculture right now, large structures are kind of what you see out and about, whether it's large bin structures. Our feed mill's rather large out there. Obviously, our layer houses are 4 stories high, and so it fits in that with that, I'll say, background. And because it's a lattice type open structure, we feel it will kind of just blend in with what's now the agricultural landscape of a lot of parts of the state of Wisconsin. We are prepared to make a commitment to the township relative to funding for the reconstruction of Crossman Road, and we can talk about that more tonight. We would participate in any and all bonding requirements that the township would want us to do. I think the state has some caps on those, but if I remember correctly, Corey, I think there were probably 2 different bonds for that, one for the permitting and one for the, I want to make sure I get the word right, for the privilege. And let's see, I guess lastly, relative to, well, it's 2 items actually. One, the town's engineer had asked that we look at possibly encasing the wastewater pipeline in concrete, in a concrete channel or raceway, so that if there ever needed to be some work done to that we wouldn't have to upset the road to do that work. So we did engineer that into it, and what we would do is put in a, correct me if I'm wrong, is it a 12-inch diameter casing? And so we would run the pipe through that, and then we would have that packed with sand so that there's no vibration inside that casing. And those would extend 1 foot outside the right-of-way, so if we ever had to do work on that, we have access to that. We could remove the sand, fix any pipe or anything that would have to be done, and then put the sand back in. There was a question asked at the Plan Commission last week, would we require additional permitting or to have to change our request to the state of Wisconsin? The DNR has approved that plan. So we contacted Gretchen Wheat over at the DNR. She approved our plan. And she said, and I've got I think you were supplied with an email response. I had our engineer contact the DNR. What she asked is if the township would like us to do this, which we said, you do. Then she said, when we get to the point where we do our record drawings, or what's called our as-bills, just make sure that's noted when that's turned in the plan, and she was fine with it. And what I had is our engineer actually write an email to her confirming that discussion and how we would pursue that. And we didn't have any problem with it. It's actually a good idea. And then I guess the last comment is this, many of the citizens have had challenges along the way with Creekwood and with Daybreak. And, we've all kind of grown up around it and know that things need to get better. Daybreak's commitment starting a couple years ago was to drastically change that site and drastically change the perception of that site. And actions at the end of the day speak louder than words. So the comments I think that I just want to make relevant to that is, as we proceeded through this process of construction, I think we've done everything we said we were going to do. If there's any issues that have come up along the way, we will continue to address those. We will be the best neighbors on the block. I've said that once, I'll say it again, and I'll say it many times over. There's a large group of stakeholders for Daybreak Foods out there that are just proud as heck of what's going on out there, but also proud to work for the company and be part of the township. What you probably don't know is what we are building out here in our backyard is an operation that is the leadership in the world in egg production right now. This is not being done anywhere the way we're doing it, and we have a lot of people very interested in what we're doing. I just had a conversation with one of my steel erectors tonight before coming here, and he said, Rick, you're setting a new pace for the industry. No one is doing what you're doing. I challenged him on one piece of design that we want to do inside one of the buildings, and he said, Rick, I've never seen it done like that before. I said, Harold, have you seen this done before? He goes, okay, you got me there. You guys are not normal. The point being, though, is that we want to be something that the township can truly be proud of, that residents can be truly proud of to have, and we will make sure as a company that we will continue to act and be that way. We know there's challenges with our current environment. We know there's issues with noise on fans that we didn't expect that we're dealing with. We have attacked those things. We are going to continue to correct those so that we can be the best neighbor we can be. And that's a commitment not only from me, because I sure don't have the power to do much in that, but I can tell you what I can tell you is what our leadership within our company has committed to, and that is to be a really good citizen for this community. And we would like to think that the revenue that we'll bring, the jobs that we will bring, will be very important to the community and help grow the community at the right state, and at the same time be able to take what's there that's not very good and let's get rid of it. And by about this time next year, that'll be the case. So we're excited about that. So, pending questions or anything, that's the place I'll start.
I just have one, the structure over the road just came to mind as far as what if we have an ice storm? Is there a chance of ice forming on that and then falling onto the road?
So, that's a good question. And we actually asked that, Jim, based on, we have another structure like that right now that's been put up that goes between one of our new legs and over to another leg by the building. And so we said, is that going to be a problem underneath that structure? Because we have traffic going underneath there. And they said, no, it's kind of like anything wood or steel overhead. You typically won't have ice breaking off and that kind of thing. You might get snow build up on it and the snow falls off. But other than that, no. Okay. It's a good question because we were thinking like, do we need to heat this thing or something? And they actually said, no, that's worse to do. So similar to a bridge or something like that, it's just kind of there.
If that does become a problem, are you willing to put heat coils on it?
I'm sorry?
Are you willing to put heat coils on just over the road part?
If, they recommended we don't. If you'd like me to look into that, if they, we don't want to do something that'll make it worse.
Right, I'm just saying, Rick, if it's going to be a problem, because I know.
Oh, in the future, if it was?
I know working around legs and bins and all that, they are a major melt hazard, and I'm anticipating with all the open space then unless it's a heavy wet snow, most of it's gonna blow
Correct.
right off.
Correct.
But, you know, just in case, you know, it might be
You know,
something that.
the members of this, I'll call it kind of a catwalk affair, and then the conveyor itself. The members of the catwalk, and maybe you've seen them lay out there, some of it's out in the laydown yard. They're not very big, 2 inches, 3 inches type material, so it doesn't have a lot of surface area. The conveyor itself, which I think was 24 inches wide, maybe 30, I apologize, don't have that with me. That is an enclosed conveyor, and that would have a flat top on it. And then there's an open graded catwalk that lies next to that for servicing. And so that, you know, lets snow and rain and that kind of thing fall through. If it did become a problem, we would definitely address it, yes.
One of the concerns I have, Rick, and from a safety standpoint, from the cement structure, which I'm gonna call the structure, in the road setback, what is your plan for a safety device?
Well, you know, so I guess I would kind of look over at Corey on that. We've talked to our engineers about it, and they're throwing out ideas for us too. A couple things that we could do. We do want to put fencing around those so that we just don't encourage anybody to like want to climb a tower. Just kids, you know, that kind of thing on a homecoming night. That wouldn't be a good thing for anybody. But when it comes to like traffic and that kind of thing, it was suggested like we could do sand barrels, and you can get those kind of like nice colors so they look nice, and you could put it so that they almost look like bushes or something, and then and they protect in case there would be any kind of a collision or a car veered way off the road and hit it or something. It would have a chance that it would, you know, not only protect the vehicle but protect the towers as well.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And we could definitely put that into the plan.
Yeah.
From the standpoint of the towers, ultimately, those are beyond the rights of way, so they're more than, you know, the 33 feet from the center line of the road.
They are, but it's.
But I agree. But
It's in the setback. You know, thinking about driving around town roads in other places, there's lots of trees and setbacks.
There is.
There's lots of
There is.
constructions that occur in.
Which is liability for all of
Yes.
us.
I think it would be a prudent thing to do, you know, to put some form of a softer barrier.
Right,
than
exactly.
hitting
Yeah.
a tower.
Yeah.
You don't want your.
And
tower
something that looks
leaning
nice, you
someday.
know, big guardrails, that doesn't look
It
nice,
gets
something
ugly.
that aesthetically pleasing.
I just think of it.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay. Okay.
Corey, do you want to lead us in this next part of the discussion?
Sure. So I was asked by the town chair to kind of evaluate, one of the components with the privilege is a compensation to the town for granting of the privilege. And as has been discussed in quite a bit of detail, Daybreak is willing to, you know, compensate the town for assisting with improving Crossman Road because of the construction impacts to the road, because of the increased traffic, and it just, in general, helps their business in having a suitable road to get trucks and to operate their business. So I took a look at options for improving Crossman Road. I was looking at several different scenarios, and ultimately the choice is yours, what you feel a fair compensation is. I'm just trying to give you some background as far as if the intent is to improve Crossman Road, how much does that cost for various scenarios. The first scenario that I looked at was resurfacing Crossman Road from County A past where, up to where Daybreak's limits of their project are. So that is roughly 3,400 feet of road improvement. And when I looked at the costs, I looked at the most recent project that the town completed that is very similar in scope to what would have to happen to Crossman Road for resurfacing. And the one that I used was Airport Road that was just completed this year. That road was roughly 8,000 feet in length. The road width is a very similar geometry to what Crossman Road is. And all of the costs for that, including design, construction, and then there was also a change order because of some unanticipated soil conditions, which we could very well run into here as well. The cost for that project worked out to about $50 per linear foot. So what that project did was it milled up the existing asphalt, it added 3 inches of stone, and then it resurfaced with 2 1/4 inches of binder and 1 3/4 of surface, and did some shouldering. So for the section of Crossman, again, the 3,400 feet at $50 a foot, you get to $170,000. So that is kind of the first scenario. One thing to note with that, though, portions of Crossman have been widened much wider than 20 feet as you get close to County A. So if we were to resurface that whole section all the way to A, we have additional width, and the additional cost, I think, would be about $10,000 more to do that entire width beyond the 20 feet, so that would be $180,000. One other thing I was asked to look at was, shouldn't the road be improved or widened given the amount of truck traffic and things going on with the road? My recommendation was to go to a 24-foot pavement section with 6-foot shoulders. So if we were to upgrade Crossman Road, again from A through Daybreak's limits, that would add about an additional $50,000.
50 or 15?
50.
50.
So the other scenarios that I looked at were resurfacing the entire length of Crossman from A all the way to Hope Lake Road. That section of road is 8,900 feet long. Again, with the $50 per foot, you end up at $445,000 roughly to do that. If we widened that whole section out to 24 feet in width, that would add $140,000 on top of that. So I guess just to summarize, in 2019 construction costs, which this project will not be built in 2019, we'll have to kind of escalate costs, I think, as well to consider when it would be constructed. So the cost to just resurface Daybreak, from Daybreak for Crossman from A to Daybreak is $180,000. To do that same section and widen it, including wider shoulders, you get to $227,000. If you want to resurface all of Crossman from A to Hope Lake Road, it's $445,000. And then to resurface all and widen, it ends up at $585,000. Like I just mentioned, those are 2019 costs. If we're building this 3 to 5 years down the road, our construction costs are going to go up as well. I would figure roughly 3 to 5% per year for construction escalation for the future construction date. So that's the information that I have on the costs. Do you have any questions for me with that?
As you were speaking, Dave was saying he thought that was 180 was a little light, and I was like, well, this is not a total reconstruction. This is a pulverized mill and overlay with the addition of some gravel. I guess I agree with you on the 3 and the 5% per year increase, and I guess we would need to work out the details on that. The costs are staggering. I guess it depends on the use that Daybreak feels they would like to put forward. I think one of the other things that we need to recognize and discuss is that Crossman Road is not our worst road, and that's how we keep records on roads, is by Pacer ratings and experience, and this road falls in the mix, but it does not come right to the surface at this time. So it's not something that we would have on our purview right at this moment.
With that exception, if that money was being provided by Daybreak, then once their construction is completed, would really want to do the 24 feet to the end of their property, at least that much, to, accommodate their truck traffic. Whether we go all the way or not, is a different story.
You're saying 24 feet wide, that's where your 24 comes from?
I mean, because you'd have the money, and that's what it was earmarked for.
So you're saying to do it in 2021?
As soon as their
Well-
construction is complete.
Well, they're done in the fall of 2020.
Yeah, so I would say
So
the summer of
2021.
21.
I agree with that. At least that part.
So they're done with construction in the fall of 20, and you're talking about
2020.
spring of 21. Okay,
Or summer of 21.
all right.
Actually, Rick, I think you guys are erecting your last building. So most of your materials are probably delivered already?
Most of them. There is materials for inside that building yet that are still being delivered. Actually, for our building 4, building 5, materials have not started to show up. All the heavy steel for anything being built is already there.
Sure.
For everything.
Cement truck traffic's gonna start to back up.
Actually, the pad for 5 has already been poured. So there's even very little concrete left
Sure,
to pour, just
sure.
a few little connecting things.
What crew are you using to do your paving?
Wolf paving.
A Wolf is? Okay.
And you probably noticed they've done part of it.
Right, yeah.
Whole side of it.
And when are you projecting to pave the layer facility?
So, in fact, that came up at a meeting this morning. So the paving in front of the processing plant, in front of the biosecurity building office, the rest of the pullet site, the feed mill site, and actually in between our layer houses, that's gonna be paved as well. And so between houses 1 and 2, that will all be done by the end of October. They figure they'll start that probably the 3rd week in October. Pavers like to be done paving, as you probably know, before Thanksgiving, and they really like to be finished by the end of October if they can. Sometimes they push it out. We have one GC that's handling the feed mill project, and they expressed to me today that they would they're using Wolf also, and so they would like to tie these projects together, and that way they would kind of do that at one time. The front of the layer site, which is kind of finishing that up, plus between buildings, what would I say, 3 and 4 and 4 and 5, and then the road that's gonna go around the back to the manure building, that would all be done in the spring or summer next year, as soon as we can, David. The building will be done by that time, they'll come in and do final grading, that kind of thing, and then we'll pay it.
And the reason I asked that, it could be a possibility that would be incorporated at the same time.
That's an interesting point, yeah.
Because their move-ins and move-out is gonna be $7,000, $8,000, so they may get excited
Just
about it.
mobilization, yeah.
Yeah.
These are things we've discussed infinitum, correct, Rick?
The other thing that, Rick, I was kind of curious, at the Plan Commission meeting, or I think it was last month actually, you had mentioned that when you did the underground digs, that you were contemplating keeping the road open.
Yeah.
So, I'm only one here, but my suggestion is wait for the middle of the day when most of the work traffic is through, close it. That way you don't have to, when you're swinging, because it's just gonna take extra time. I mean, that's my opinion. Open cut that baby and get it in.
We just, we'll be happy to do whatever works better. I asked our engineers, the civil engineers that do that kind of thing, and they look at DOT standards, they just kind of follow that. One of our engineering firms is Sigma out of Milwaukee. They've done like the Brewer Stadium, that kind of thing, Miller Park, so they're big guys. And they looked at it and they said, well, they would suggest not disrupting the traffic and leaving half open. And so our contractor is willing to do that. Like you said, it does take longer, so now you have a disruption on the road longer. When if you could pick the quietest time of the day and it's not, there's kind of a rush hour out there.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
So you want to do it, at the quietest time possible. And in fact, even setting, something over the road would be done the same way. We would close that short section of road in front of the mill, well, any traffic, do it at the quietest time of day. They figured, you know, hour, hour and a half tops kind of
Sure.
thing. And then route the traffic actually through the feed mill, parking lot and back out again. So that traffic could basically kind of keep flowing other than being slowed down.
Yeah.
But if you'd prefer a closure and get it done, I mean, we would like that. We just would rather not disrupt the neighbors and traffic.
Right, yeah, I understand what you're trying to do, but then I know it's like to run a bulldozer and excavator and watch out for people.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
it becomes difficult, so,
yeah.
I don't know, I guess it's up.
Well, you
to
gotta
guys.
you gotta keep it open for emergencies. You know, you can't count on that.
Yeah,
I mean, if you could route an emergency vehicle through your parking lot.
You have an
that's one-
alternative route, that's what's
Yeah,
important.
That'd be one thing, but you can't predict if an accident's gonna happen or a
it's-
fire,
right.
so.
We can do whatever's preferred, but.
All right. Corey, you have also worked on with the help of Mark Sewell, a couple of resolutions to accomplish what we would like to accomplish for this corporation. The first resolution is a resolution authorizing a permit pursuant to 88.16 and 86.7 Wisconsin state statutes for underground utility line crossings in the public right-of-way of Crossman Road. Do you want me to read this, or how do you want to do this?
That's entirely up to you. If you'd like me to, just generally go through that, I can, or if you want me to answer any questions specifically related to that, I can.
Why don't you summarize it? We have it in front of us here at the table, and why don't you summarize it, and we can discuss it as a board.
Sure. So,
Just one question, has Rick seen this?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
Have you seen these resolutions?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, as was mentioned before, permits for utility crossings underneath roads are common and happen all the time. Electrical line utilities, gas utilities, water and sewer utilities, that happens very frequently. There's a lot less potential for conflicts with the highway uses and what rights-of-way are intended to do. So that being said, the state statutes also reflect a more simpler process for approving those crossings. As Rick mentioned, basically for the underground components, we're looking at a potable water line, a sewer line, 2 communication lines, and a storm water culvert. All of those crossings fit into the state statutes for those underground utility crossings. Ultimately, we're recommending a couple conditions related to those. One of them is filing a bond for $10,000 just to make sure that if there is any damage to the road or we have issues with pavement buckling or the asphalt isn't properly done, that we have some leverage to get that repaired. And then we also wanted Daybreak to acknowledge that they would repair any damage from construction, and that granting this permit doesn't surrender in any way the powers of the town for utilization of the rights-of-way for highway purposes. So that is saying basically if the town needs to reconstruct or widen or do something and those underground utilities are in the way, it's on Daybreak's dime to go and relocate those or to move those out of the way of the town's uses of the rights-of-way. So that's the permit for the underground facilities and what our recommendations are. I did run this past Mark Sewell, who is the town's attorney. He was satisfied with this resolution. He did have me add into this that this resolution would be executed by the town chair and the clerk, and ultimately it would get recorded against the benefiting properties. So in the future, when somebody says, hey, how did that happen? We don't have a resolution that's lost or thrown away or in a drawer somewhere. There's actually a recorded document that can be more easily found. So that was one of the recommendations that he made that I included in here, and that if the resolution gets approved, we'll need to go through a process to record that against the parcel so we have a record of it.
Do you have any questions?
No.
All right, well then, let's continue and look at the second resolution, which is a resolution authorizing a privilege pursuant to 66.0425 of the Wisconsin State Statutes for the construction of an aerial encroachment of an overhead conveyor system into the public rights-of-way of Crossman Road. Want to give us a review of this, Corey? And
Sure. So as we've talked about, the state statutes for an over-the-road, above-ground facility like this are a lot more, there's a lot more detail in the statutes as far as what can and can't happen, and the conditions that the town has that they must include with any approvals. So as this mentions, this is a privilege, so it's not an obligation for the town to approve this. It's ultimately a discretionary decision that the town can make for approving this. The state statutes go into detail about what the maximum bond is. That's the $10,000, and that's what we set the bond at for the granting of the privilege, because that's the maximum statutorily that the town can require. As we've talked about, the statutes allow the town to set the compensation for the granting of the privilege. I'm not sure what was in your packets, but ultimately that dollar amount is up to the town's discretion as far as what they want to set that at. I've included a series of conditions in the privilege that I'm recommending based on feedback from the Plan Commission and just in the process of working through this. I've also kind of modeled this resolution from a similar resolution that I found and worked with the board that passed that for an over-the-road mining conveyor. So a lot of these things I tried to not reinvent the wheel and find out what worked for them and what didn't and build those into this resolution. So the conditions that I have in here are related to the compensation, which we can discuss the dollar amount, the bond, which is the $10,000, which is the statutory maximum. And then there's a whole host of acknowledgements that we have to statutorily require Daybreak to acknowledge. One of them is that they need to waive the right to contest the validity of the state statutes regarding the granting of the privilege. They need to assume primary liability for any damages to person or property due to granting of the privilege. So the thing that's good from the town's perspective of putting this conveyor above the road, it doesn't create a legal liability if something bad happens. Ultimately, it's on Daybreak for that. The statute also requires that the granting of a privilege essentially can be revoked with 10 days notice. So your concerns about ice falling on vehicles, if that happens and the town says, hey, Daybreak, fix this, and Daybreak says, I don't want to fix it, the town can say, okay, you have 10 days to get the conveyor down. So I think that the town has a tremendous amount of leverage to make sure that this is working and working long term. So that gives me a lot of comfort too, that if we do have issues in the future, we have a lot of leverage to make sure that they get dealt with properly. I also included conditions, I guess one more statutorily is that Daybreak wouldn't be entitled to any damages if the town does say you need to take the conveyor down. Ultimately, they can't come back and say, we spent $1 million on this conveyor and you made us take it down, you need to compensate us for that. The statute doesn't allow that to happen, so that's one of the conditions they'll need to acknowledge. I wrote into their recommendation that Daybreak will provide inspection and maintenance, which Rick has indicated they're happy to do, and they are working on a contract for having that completed. And then I put in that granting the privilege, again, similarly, that the town doesn't surrender any of its powers that it has regarding use of the rights-of-way. Again, you know, the conveyor system is secondary to the highway uses of the rights-of-way for the town. And finally, similar to the underground permit, I put in a condition that Daybreak will repair any damage from construction to a condition as good or better than before the work. So those were the conditions that I had recommended. Those were similar to an email that I sent to Daybreak months and months ago, and I think that they're comfortable with those conditions. If you have any other concerns, we can also add conditions as well. So if there's anything that I don't have in here that you have concerns about, we can get that added in.
Thank you, Corey. Well, we have two resolutions before us. The devil is in the details. I think that we should look first at the permit for the underground utility line crossings in the public right-of-way. I realize you haven't had a lot of time to look this over. This has been a work in progress, but I think this document speaks for itself.
Easy one.
Is there any discussion or a motion as to what you think we should do?
Just a second. At the Plan Commission, we approved 2 permits. So does this resolution cover both permits, or is it a resolution for each permit?
So,
There's 2 different areas on the road.
correct. Ultimately, the language in this resolution, it talks more about the underground facilities that are going in.
Okay.
Those are in 2 locations that were described by easements that Daybreak prepared.
Right.
So there were multiple underground utilities in some of those. There was a stormwater culvert that was not in either of those. So this really stands alone. Ultimately, what this resolution says you're approving is that water line, the 2 communication lines, the stormwater culvert, and the wastewater pipe. So we're not talking really about easements with the approval of this resolution.
Okay. So you want a motion to approve or disapprove this
I want a
resolution?
motion.
And that'll do the permits and everything. I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing a permit pursuant to 8816 and 8607 Wisconsin statutes for underground utility line crossings in the public rights of way of Crossman Road.
I will second it.
Now, is there any discussion? I think it's pretty straightforward. I appreciate what you have prepared. If we pass this resolution, you will look for the correct numbers, and we will then deliver this in a signed form to Daybreak. So we have a motion on the floor. I will call the question, and I believe we should have a roll call vote.
Chairperson Osbeck,
Aye.
Supervisor Schrader,
Aye.
Supervisor Hines,
Aye.
All right. Moving along.
motion carried.
Oh, so the motion, or the resolution is passed, and we will give it a correct number. This is the resolution authorizing a permit pursuant to statutes 88.16 and 88.17 for the underground utility line crossings on Crossman Road. We also have in front of us a resolution authorizing a privilege pursuant to 66.425 Wisconsin statutes on the construction of an aerial encroachment of an overhead conveyor system over the public right-of-way on Crossman Road. The devil here is in the details. What we have put forward is authorizing the town chair and the town clerk to sign and record a privilege for an aerial encroachment of an overhead conveyor system into the public rights-of-way of Crossman Road, subject to the following conditions. Daybreak Foods, Inc. is responsible for payment of the compensation of the granting of the privilege. Payment shall be made in 5 installments of $100,000. The first installment is due upon the date of issuance of the privilege. The subsequent installments paid annually or prior to the date of issuance of the privilege. The compensation is non-refundable. I guess we should discuss this and then move down the line. looking at the dollar signs for reconstruction of Crossman Road that have been put forward by Corey, I wonder what your corporation has to say about this, Mr. Adel.
Can I say it here?
You can say it wherever you want,
Okay.
as long as it's on camera.
No, thank you. So we have had discussions about this. The numbers, and we agree, by the way, with whether it matters or not, with your engineer's figures. I think they're about right based on what we have seen also, and the paving work that we've had done, a lot of excavation work that we've had done. And so as I listen to this evening, I kind of see two numbers in front of us. One of them is, call it $230,000 to go from, if I understood it correctly, from Highway A up to the end of our property line, which is, I think you said about 3,400 feet, okay? The second one would be, and I'm gonna jump up to $585,000, and that's keeping that same width all the way up to the intersection of, is it Town?
It's Hope Lake Road.
Hope Lake Road, I'm sorry, okay, all right. And I don't know if you would, there's kind of a Y up there, and I don't
It needs to be teed. I've been after that for
Oh, is that right?
15 years.
Okay.
Right, Jim?
There you go.
Here's my excuse, here's my in. Keep going.
Okay, so what I've been authorized to offer up as a counter offer to what has just been discussed. So if I understand it correctly, $100,000 at $100,000 per year for 5 years, that's $500,000. That would essentially, based on, of course, there would probably be some inflation costs depending on when this is done. But I think Daybreak would agree, and I would speak for Daybreak, that kind of the sooner the better is good for us too. And if we could incorporate it with the paving work that our company is going to do, there might be some savings that could be had there. And the timing would be great to do it once all the construction traffic is done there, and it would be good for everybody. So call it, spring, summer of '21 would probably be about the right timing. And any funding that you would be requesting from Daybreak would be willing to put forth all the funding that we would offer by that time. So in other words, you wouldn't have to wait 5 years to get something you want to do in 2, okay? But having that said, we're a business with limited budgets just like anybody else. And so what Daybreak would like to offer up is a counter offer of $50,000 a year for 3 years, for a total of $150,000. We would pay, with the first payment being made, as soon as we would sign the agreement with you, and then $50,000 a year for the next 2 years, and we would accelerate those payments as soon as you would want to do the work. So it would pay for a majority of the $230,000, and we would like that money earmarked for the project. Because I don't know how your funding mechanism works, and how your general fund versus earmarked funds, but we would like to see it earmarked for that work.
Fair enough.
So that's what we would like to offer for the project.
I guess one thing I would like to speak to that is the statutes do require that cost for the privilege, the compensation, goes to the general fund. I think that it would have to go to the general fund, but I think that the town board could probably come in with a separate resolution that those general fund dollars would be allocated towards redoing that road.
That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, we're fine. So I guess depending on what width that road would end up, we would almost be paying for all of it if we do the current width, because that was about 180,000. If we expand that out further, then it would be the 230. So then we'd be compensating 150 of the 230.
And Rick,
I know these are guesstimate numbers.
Yeah.
total guesstimate.
I just had a question. Were there, I guess, did you have a need for widening for truck access to your facility?
Well, that's a great question, and a lot of times things come down to cost. The short answer would be, I think it would be beneficial, all right? There's 2 ways we could do that. We can either make a bigger shoulder and not pave that shoulder. Where we see the traffic, turning traffic, would be right in front of the entrance to the feed mill, which is a little bit offset from the entrance into the processing plant. That's where most of the traffic will go. The majority of the traffic will be into the feed mill, for sure. And the majority of that traffic is gonna come off of Highway 8, right? In fact, darn near all of it, 80% plus probably, okay? Because typically truck drivers, grain haulers, ingredient haulers are gonna wanna take the better roads. No offense on Crossman Road, but I mean, they're gonna take, but they are gonna take roads that are, you know, like a county road, like Highway 8 versus back. Okay?
Class A highway.
You know, unless they're following their GPS and they end up in Fort Atkinson. But, routing themselves down Highway and then turning onto Crossman Road, the majority of the traffic then would be a right-hand turn into the feed mill. Our driveways are long going into the feed mill, kind of like you were expressing earlier, Dave, about keeping vehicles off the road so that we could get 2 or maybe 3 semis off the road at any given time, because we will have control gates, but those gates will be well within the facility so that we can get traffic off the road. That being said, you know, the road will be busier. And so if we can either do a paved shoulder turn lane, or we could just do more gravel and do a turn lane. All of our area will be paved. So to be consistent with that, I think to add the paving in to say a shoulder right turning lane, well, it probably make sense. And we've talked about that as well. Yeah. So, long answer to a short question, but yes, we probably want to do something.
No, one of the other things that we have talked about in discussion is that Crossman Road is, again, not our worst road, but it again is not our best road. I believe it has a PACER rating of 4 right now, so that it could be moved up in our road planning. One of the other things that we discussed is the T at the end of the road. We have, as a board, always felt that that T needed to be corrected, and that the responsibility for that probably does lie with the town and not with the industry, as well as the repair of the road. Part of that responsibility does fall to the town to keep that road in good shape and make it work. So I do feel that we have some responsibility. I guess the devil is again in the details. I guess I would like to know what you think, Rick, about the width of the road. Are you saying to us that you would appreciate the 24-foot roadway and the 6-foot shoulders that we discussed?
Yes, I do. I think it makes for a safer traveled road. It also, with the heavier vehicles here, you get less breakup on the edges of those roads. It's going to last longer, be easier for snow removal. It just makes, for a road that's going to have heavier traffic, it would make sense. Yes.
You know, when we're reconstructing these roads, we're hoping that we're going to have 40, 50 years of life.
Exactly.
I'd like to go back just a little. The shoulders and the entrance from County Highway A on Crossman Road now has been expanded. And I was not on the board at that time. Do you or any of you remember the details involved?
Yeah, me and Jim
Yeah.
did that.
Daybreak asked, or Creekwood, I guess, that time, right?
Yeah.
Asked to have it widened, and they paid for it. I think it was around $6,000 to $8,000 back then, but
Yeah.
like, that was 20,
It was, yeah,
20 years ago.
yeah, 16, 18 years
Yes,
ago.
and it is not the same distance that we're looking at now, but I just wondered,
No,
there
I
is a record and a history of cooperation between the plant and the township.
Well, they dragged their feet a little, but they did it.
Corey?
I guess part of my recommendation for the widening is, related to the truck traffic. And if there are, trucks essentially waiting or staging or turning movements, having that 24-foot paved width plus 6-foot shoulders gives you space that can help make that a much safer situation. Essentially you need, 10-foot travel lanes, so you have 4 feet of extra asphalt, you have 6 feet of extra shoulder. That basically gives you another lane. If you have a truck that's staging, that's waiting, they can pull onto the shoulder, and cars can still have two-way traffic safely. So I think the widening is like was mentioned, this road hopefully gets built for 40, 50 years. I think my recommendation would be to do it the right way, rather than patching on wider asphalt at a later date. You'll pay more in the long run,
Right, yeah.
and it won't be as good if you don't do it all at once.
The other thing is when a truck meets a car, they're both gonna be squeezed. But where really the squeeze issue is gonna be is when two trucks meet on that road. You're gonna be losing mirrors, you know, so I definitely think it needs to be wider. And Rick, I think, you know, as far as a turn lane, I think maybe that obviously would be a luxury, because you do have nice wide driveways, you know, so you would be able to use most of your swing in that driveway. As far as widening it past your last driveway, other than the 20 feet, I really don't see that as being a factor, because we would like to discourage any 80,000-pound vehicles driving past your last driveway entrance. Because as you mentioned, that is not the right way to go. Besides that, from March 1st to May 1st, that's a Class B highway. So,
Well, the smallest road we can build now is 22 feet pavement, 2-foot shoulders, right? So that's, I mean, you have to, I don't know how wide Crossman Road is, but you did that on Airport, right? 22, yeah. So if you go from a 24-foot pavement to a 22 at that point, I mean, I don't think it's a big issue.
yeah. Because you're looking at completely reconstructing the right of way. It would have to be regraded and
Now,
reclaimed.
I don't know what that road, you know, it was before my time, but Lake Mills Blacktop maintained that road. Maybe Bud Crossman knows. I don't know what they did over the years, if they kept paving it, or, I would think that road is built pretty good base to handle heavy traffic right now. So we could do some borings, but, in a minute, we could do some borings to find out what the base is in there. Maybe we just need to grind up the asphalt and not add additional gravel on that road and pave it.
Well, it was Highway A, you know, years ago.
Okay,
I mean,
so-
it was a county road, you know, so they were wider anyway than a town road.
Did not know that.
Yeah, and it might have a lot better base than a regular
Yeah,
town road
right.
too. And I know the Lake Mills Blacktop did maintain it while they were in
Well,
there.
when they left, before they left, they paved the whole road.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could
So-
put egg on it, but you probably won't like that.
So I think we could benefit from that as far as the base is already there and it's built a lot better than a typical road. So you might get by a little cheaper by just grinding the asphalt and paving it like the county did on Highway B out here. Anyway, we could look into that.
Well, there are a lot of variables here, but I still think if we're gonna move forward on this conveyor, we're gonna need to agree on, basically, we're gonna need to agree on 1A, what the compensation will be. Are you satisfied with what Rick has offered us? The other thing that Rick and I have talked about, and I guess this touches a little bit on, what we're looking at as far as planning and engineering goes, is the two of us have put forward the idea that we, the town, and Daybreak would split the cost of engineering so that we know exactly what we are dealing with and have a plan to move forward. Bidding then would be much easier and construction much easier. I think that we both agree on that. We have no idea what that dollar sign might be, but I think we need to put that as a condition for the resolution if we decide to pass it. So there would be a 50-50 split of engineering costs prior to the reconstruction, or the, I guess we should say, mill and overlay or pulverize and overlay that we would attempt to do in the year 2021. The second thing is we would need to agree on what the compensation is going to be. Are you satisfied with $50,000 as the first installment and 2 more installments of $50,000 and when and if we decide we're going to reconstruct.
I'm not. I'd be looking for 300,000, period.
And of course, I want 5, so. I want all the candy in the bag.
Well, 300,000 takes you from A up to the end of your property.
Yeah.
With a little extra for inflation, possibly some engineering costs. Yeah.
Yeah, inflation would be about $25,000 a year on that road.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned, Jim, potentially not needing to do that 3 inches. I have the bid from Airport Road. Adding that 3 inches is about 10% of the cost.
Yeah, I didn't think it was much, but.
It's not a ton, and,
Right.
you know, the stone is probably a pretty good investment.
But widening the road, I think airport was widened, correct?
Yeah, it was.
See,
But not 24 feet.
no, but it was 20 and you went to 22, so that's a little bit extra work. If Crossman's 22 already, up further to the south, you don't have to have that additional cost either, but anyway.
I would have 2 questions relative to the engineering costs. One would be, do you know about what your engineering costs were on Airport Road? And secondly, if there were any grants or anything available that the township could take part in or participate in, would that also be able to be applied towards engineering for a project like that?
Easy to answer question. You go ahead first, Corey.
The engineering for Airport Road was not done by my firm, it was done by a different firm, and it was $29,400.
All right. I lost my train of thought.
Did you know? I can't remember what you were going to say.
Engineering and compensation, hope. Does that help you?
Yeah, but I'm coming around. So is it agreed that, as a caveat in this resolution, that we would undertake a 50-50 split to complete the engineering prior to going to bid on the road? Your question, Rick, about grants, and you know that I led you with this. I received a notice just recently from the Wisconsin Towns Association, which I believe was forwarded to you guys. There is a new 90-10 split for this kind of a project. I don't believe that the state would reimburse any part of the engineering costs. That would all have to be done up front. But the cost is a 90-10 split in this grant program, and it's a intermodal, I can't remember exactly. Did you read it?
No, I didn't see it.
We'll forward that on to you. That's a grant that I guess that I would highly suggest that we look at for this project. If we were able to do that, perhaps there is an opportunity for us to split that 10%, which would be a real win for all of us. Perhaps there is a way that we could use the money put forward that we have suggested tonight to do some ongoing maintenance and put that into a program for later on. I guess the devil here is in the details. Jim has made it very clear that he wants more money. I want more money. I don't know how you feel.
Oh, I like money.
I know you do.
You know, I guess Daybreak's position is, you know, that, you know, obviously we're making a big investment already, very large one. But in addition, you know, we will, some of that's gonna come back to you through taxes and just, you know, other dollars that will flow through the community. Not to reiterate dollars kind of thing, but, you know, our projections show at least $12 million coming within 20 miles of our site that will affect either farmers, restaurants, you know, fuel companies, lots of vendors that we have, hardware stores, hotels, anything that we use in the area will all be affected by that income. And it's just, it feeds back to the community in other ways. And we are a taxpayer, so we're paying for part of that road already, and we're cool with that. And like I said, we want to participate, but, our budget isn't unlimited either, like anyone else's. So, there is a thought I have, and I'm gonna really stick my neck out here, so turn the TV camera off for a minute. Any turn lanes that we would put in, that would be asphalt, which I think would be best to be asphalt because they would complement not only the road but our driveways. Daybreak would pay for those. And I don't know what portion, if any, of the 230 or whatever that number would ultimately end up being. I would guess it's pretty sizable. I know what asphalt costs, I'm doing a lot of it.
Oh, what's your pleasure, gentlemen? We don't need to make a decision on this tonight. I know that Rick would like to move along as quickly as possible. I did remind him today that we will have other opportunities. Later in our meeting schedule, we will be setting a date for our road tour. We could entertain that in September and come up with, and have a short meeting the day of our road tour to decide this. Or we could put this off until our October meeting. Perhaps it would be prudent if you took what we have to say back to your company and see how they feel about it.
I did.
I know you did. What do you have to say, Corey?
Regarding the grants, I guess I would like to caution you that, grant funding is limited, and I would really recommend that you prioritize utilizing grant funding for attacking the roads that have the worst pacer rating that you're planning on working on. Utilizing grants to do projects that are kind of out of the order of that can get you into trouble, and ultimately I think it's best to apply for the most needy projects that the town has.
I guess we'll learn more about the grant. I did sign up for a webinar that gives the information on the grant. Guess we could entertain that as we go along. It does seem that this grant might be tailored exactly for this kind of a project.
For heavy road use vehicles?
You'll have to read the information and go to the webinar.
I mean, this does potentially present an opportunity, though, to where if you apply for a grant for a project you were planning on doing, maybe you can apply for this project too, and it enables you to do even more. So I'm not discouraging that, but I guess I just wouldn't take things out of order either.
I wouldn't want to put that into this agreement that we have, but I did want to bring up that there is that opportunity, and I think that we should pursue it and look at it. My experience with the grants is there are many strings attached, like the engineering and all these kind of things, but if the state is willing to give a little, we're certainly willing to take a lot. All right, what do you want to do?
Well, you stated a couple meetings ago that really this conveyor could wait a while. You were more interested in the underground because you didn't really need to send feed over there.
Thank you for asking that. This actually came up. So our feed mill, we proposed to put that. They're actually doing what's called bin flushing now, which means they're starting to calibrate equipment with inside the mill. The computer equipment inside the mill is being calibrated with bins and that kind of thing. We actually don't want to put up the conveyor until we have enough substantial construction done on House 5, because we have a conveyor that's going to run over our feed bins as well in front of the layer houses. And that will actually be in the way. And they'll build that from House 5 and then work back towards House 1. So I want to say a slight delay does not cause a problem. As Hope said, our wish would be to complete this process this evening. but what was said to me in the meeting today was they would like to start construction on that approximately first week in October, because that's when we'll be far enough along with the construction on House 5 that putting something across the front of it would not obstruct that construction. So I don't know if we would still have a chance to maybe make that schedule. If we can reach
So is your company firm with the 150,000, or is, you know where I'm at, 300,000, so is there compromise someplace? You can go back to your board, and if we hold this resolution another month, till we get the figure settled?
So could I ask you this? What would you accept? And hope be quiet.
Well, all right, I guess.
I love my neighbors.
I'm gonna come.
And here's why I say that. Would it be possible for you to approve this evening if you tell me a number, and if I come back and say that has been accepted by our company, that we have the approval in place? If they don't accept it, then we have to do this again.
Go
So be
250,000.
conditional upon the agreement.
Yep, that's,
Agreement.
All right.
that works. I'd like your other one, but that works.
All right, I'll come down a little, 250,000, that's the number.
That would get us to your farthest driveway.
Yep. I think Daybreak should be responsible for that portion. And there was some damage, it's not totally damaged the road or nothing, but it benefits you, it benefits the town. 250,000.
So can I ask it in this way? Would it be a maximum of $250,000? And less if that's what it ends up costing? You know, his estimate was 230, and I know these are just numbers at this point. But you never know, you know, if there's a slowdown in construction, which in the Madison area, I'm being told that some of that is starting to happen, some construction costs will go down. And, you know, so this would be a not to exceed number, but actual costs, and they would then be for the construction up to the end of our property. If we did that, in return, I would ask that you cover the engineering costs.
We need you in the White House. So that's 2.25, 230 then, roughly, right?
250,000, but actual, you would be responsible for actual costs.
To a maximum of 250.
To a maximum of 250. Yeah. I don't know about the engineering fees, you guys do.
I don't have, I just want to be clear, I don't have the authority to authorize that tonight.
No, I know you don't.
But if you were to pass a resolution to that,
Can we hold on, there's another
we
discussion.
don't agree with it, can't.
Hold on a second. The video's not gonna pick up what you're saying, because there's another discussion going on.
Okay, so I'm coming from Madison, so I was,
Okay.
well, I
Alright.
got on A, I thought I was.
Okay. Yeah, so it was 250,000, not to exceed the actual costs of the road construction for 3,400 feet. And to widen it to 24 feet, 3-foot shoulders on each side, right? That's where you get your 6, or is it 6? It's not,
6 feet on each side.
6 feet on each side? Wow, okay. Okay.
Cut that down a little.
4. Yeah, we can cut, I don't know how you feel about that, but that's pretty wide. I was thinking that's 24 pavement, 6 foot, 3 on each side, but
Yeah,
you're
3 or 4.
Which you can do that. I mean, it's definitely way better than what's out there now.
Yeah, right. Those are in the details though, but,
Well, let's be clear
I
and
know.
decide what we'd like to have. Let's be clear and give them some direction. I do think you should go back to the powers that be, Rick, and discuss what we've discussed tonight. I think that the town should ask for the split on the engineering. I think that is a rightful thing. I would be more than happy to accept $300,000, but I will consider $250,000, but I still think you need to be responsible for half of the engineering. That's my opinion. I don't believe that we're going to be able to reach a decision tonight. I guess I'd like to hear what you guys would like to say, and what I would then ask is that we rework the resolution and that we have copies of the resolution available on our website, and also for all parties involved, that we continue to discuss it as we have and seek to approve it either at our town road tour meeting in September or at our October 8th regular town board meeting.
I guess the only thing that I would suggest would be that if the grant would come along, and we've dealt with those before, if it is a 90 state, 10 township, then you guys would deserve a rebate then. Because we don't want to be
Hard
paying.
to disagree with that, but.
I
That'd be
mean,
great.
rightfully so.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense to me too, that if we were able to capture any grant dollars, we would be able to do it that way. Can you rework the resolution, Corey, with those caveats in mind, and then circulate that, and we'll select a date to review this again?
Sure. The only other question that I would have is what would the payment terms of that be? You know, we've talked about paying it all in one, we've talked about 3 payments. I guess what would you like to see in the draft resolution?
You tell us. I mean, if we're shooting for a 2021 construction season, you know, that's not much time, so maybe it's split the.
Yeah, it's 50/50.
Yeah,
2 payments.
yeah, that'd be fine.
So the first installment due at the date of issuance of the privilege, and the subsequent installment paid
When you start construction.
at construction. Okay.
And I'd just like something clarified in the resolution that this money is to be used for the construction or what, Crossman Road. It doesn't say that anyplace in here.
Yeah.
So
It's
that
gotta be earmarked for this.
Put a caveat in there that it'll go into the
Actually,
general
for,
fund, but it
actually
will
for
be.
3,400 feet of Crossman Road from A to the end of their property.
Okay. Suitable? Thank you for the,
When's the next meeting possibly?
well, we're gonna discuss that in a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
I would like to make sure that the September 5th Hankered Environmental Acoustics and Vibration Consulting Firm letter to Creekwoods Layer Facility be read into our minutes.
You're looking at me to read it, aren't you?
No, I don't want you to read it.
Okay.
I want you to put it into the minutes or into the record.
Would you like that to be posted to the website?
Yes. I think it's important, what has been discovered, and I know at no tiny little cost to you, Rick, noise from the fans operating at the facility are audible at the residence, depending on the fan operation, wind direction, and background noise. Based on our analysis of the measurement data, the review of select audio recordings, and direct observations listening at the residence, we conclude that the noise from this facility is at most 42 to 45 dBA. Those are decibel measurements. This occurs when the fans are fully operational and the wind is either calm or from a southerly direction. To put these levels into perspective, the World Health Organization generally concludes that there are no health concerns when environmental noise levels are less than 45 dBA, which is the case here. I just wanted to make sure that this letter and that statement get read into our record. All right, so we have not acted on the resolution. I believe the direction that we have given Corey is to rewrite the resolution, distribute it to us, and then we will bring this back at a future meeting, and that date will be discussed and published. Right?
Yep.
All right. Moving on, item 9. Want to take a short break? Anyone who wants to leave or do any other business? Want to take a short break, or do you want to forge ahead? It's 10. Okay, we'll keep rolling.
Get her done.
Item 9, old business. A, discussion and decision on revisions and amendments to the town ordinance regulating abandoned vehicles. Beginning to get really tired of abandoned vehicles.
We're on that one.
I spoke with Mr. Leverton today. He has yet to define what a motor vehicle accessory is. He said that we could easily define that if we want to include that definition in our ordinance. What is your pleasure? I told him I'd just like to let it ride as it may, and if we were ever to have a case where we would need to remove abandoned accessories or automobile accessories or abandoned farm equipment, then we'd cross that bridge when we came to it. What are your thoughts?
Fine with me.
I think we should,
You can just go after the cars and trucks.
yeah, I think we should put this up for a public hearing for next month, and then we can move on from there. Are you all in agreement with that?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, moving on then, what did I do with my agenda? Item B, discussion and decision to adopt proposed all-terrain vehicle and utility terrain vehicle route ordinance. I guess I've been very clear in my opinion on this. You guys have anything you'd like to say, or a motion is in order to adopt?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to maybe try to address a few items that were brought up during the public hearing. First off, the ordinance, the reason it was done for all roads in the town is because it simplifies the signage for the ATV clubs. They only have to put a sign at each road that enters the township. And then, so it limits, probably the signage would be down to 12 signs or something like that. It would cover it all. The other thing, if it becomes Sherwood Hills area, you cannot go anyplace in Sherwood Hills. You can't get there unless you, like they stated, you have an agricultural permit or something like that, because you cannot go on a county highway unless it's under 35 miles per hour.
Or you get permission from the county for that section.
Well, yeah, but right now, County Highway S is 55 miles per hour, and B at that intersection of Sherwood Hills Road is 40 miles per hour. So they can't get any place in Sherwood Hills Road. So I don't see that being an issue right now. It may be later if the county adopts an ordinance that allows them on the county roads. But for now, you would have the people that live in Sherwood Hills that want to go to the lake, want to go to their place of business. If those people roaring up and down Sherwood Hills Road, they're going to be your people that live in that area. If it would become an issue later on, the town has the right to close off Sherwood Hills Road. They could put a sign on each end, S and B, and say, no ATVs allowed. That would cut out all that traffic, and then you would be into the issuing the special permits for the people that live there and need it, if you wanted to go down that route. The other thing, our ordinance is more restrictive than the state of Wisconsin's ordinance in that you have to be 16, you have to be wearing a helmet, you have to have a driver's license, and you have to have a safety registration certification if you're of that age. I think if you were born after 1988, you have to have a safety certificate. And And the speed limits are 35 miles per hour unless, or the posted speed for cars. So they can't exceed, on 45 mile per hour roads, the town roads, they wouldn't be able to go more than 35 legally. And so you have to, I guess those are the items that I wanted to just kind of make clear or say what's in the ordinance. And you probably already read it it's been on the internet and stuff
I
anyway,
think
so.
one of the other things, Jim, that was listed in there was they were saying something about noise levels and stuff, and I think you put in there about having stock
Stock mufflers,
systems, so
no
that we're keeping
modifications.
that decibel level down.
but it's still 95. I mean, that's the law, or 96, whatever it is, which is pretty loud, and I agree if they're going at 45, 50 miles per hour, that's gonna be that loud. But if they're going at 25 or 15, it's not gonna be that loud. Be a lot less, but like I say, if it becomes an issue, people start complaining, we have the right to cut it off totally, or designate only certain routes, and then, so, that's in the ordinance.
Great, thank you for the summary.
I didn't see severability in the ordinance.
Pardon?
I didn't see the right to sever in the ordinance. The city of Waterloo put a severability paragraph in there saying that they retain the right to avoid it at any time.
It's in there.
Yeah, it's
in there.
under 14, line 86.
It should be in there because this came from the Waterloo ordinance, we just rewrote it.
Waterloo is also a 1-year probation.
Oh, there was another, she left now, but there are other, that maybe you can, Town of Portland, Lebanon, Waterloo, Milford, they all have ATV ordinances. Jefferson.
Basically,
Ellenville.
when you get Waterloo going north, you can ride ATV routes all the way up to Little Mine Road, Wisconsin. So this isn't something that's just new
For here.
for the state, it's
Right.
been coming south already. And I think, Matt, you said that Hebron, down in the southern part of Jefferson County, I think Jefferson, town of Jefferson is Farmington. So we're just trying to connect the areas, we're not, and I don't think we're gonna see, I mean, we're not looking huge populations that are coming up here to ride. It's people that are around here that have the machines that just wanna get out to enjoy it, like you do with a motorcycle, a tricycle, a scooter, a bicycle, a boat. We're trying to enjoy what's here.
There's just under 400,000 ATVs in the state of Wisconsin. Registered. And a lot of the clubs have big rides.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. I'm limiting the discussion from the floor. I guess I would like to call the question.
Yep.
And I think here again, we should have a roll call vote.
Chairperson Ostai?
No.
Supervisor Schrader?
Yes.
Supervisor Heinz?
Yes.
And so the ordinance is passed. Item 10, new business. A, discussion and decision on the final draft of the snow plowing contract with Forest Landscaping and Construction. Have you guys had some time to look over the contract that Robin put together for Jay?
Yeah, read it.
Disappointed that we do not have a 3-year contract, but I am happy to approve this, and we will sign this at this meeting. Wait till afterwards and pass the signatures around?
Yeah, we'll wait till we're all done.
All right.
To do all that.
I wondered about the item 9, I guess, under item 9, it says, last sentence, salt, brine will be purchased, but
I
forest,
guess we should strike that,
well,
since we're not doing any,
with forest, right?
yes,
Because he's not gonna do that, correct?
right.
For
we
these 2
refuse to
years.
do that.
Um,
Let's strike that line.
As long as it's open, and we can discuss this. Didn't you mention at a meeting that you do salt brining?
I have 2 rigs.
2 rigs. So I'm just saying that, I'm bringing it up that maybe if we wanted to entertain that, just for the Sherwood Hills Road areas around the lake for a trial period. I mean, it's an option. I'm not saying we have to, but, or should, but.
What is brine? 20% salt, 80% water?
It's 2.5 pounds per, 2.5 pounds per a gallon of water. So it's 2.5 pounds, and it works out to be anywhere between 30 to 35% underground.
Yeah,
If I do 90, what I've been doing at Palmyra, I do around, I mainly do around the lake, and then they have one area that people, no sand, kind of like people around the lake, they don't want the sand dragging into their house and all that stuff. So I do a whole other subdivision. And it worked out, I'll be very honest with you, the cost-wise, it's probably a tad bit cheaper, but not enough to say, it might have just been cheaper because I didn't do as much on the roads as I did on the other roads.
Right.
But the efficiency of it, they always had to hire sweepers to come in and sweep all the sand and salt back, everything out. And they did a test on the water, and the water was incredibly better than it's ever been after a winter. And especially this winter, this last one with all that ice. We put more salt down than all the years that I've been there, we had more salt down.
Yeah, because the advantage to the brine is it doesn't crush and blow off the road.
Right.
If you pre-salt, most of it's gone before, so it does have an advantage if you're going to pre-do it.
And that's what we did. We did a lot of pre-stuff. And then we did a lot of pre-stuff that when, this is the first year that Palmyra did not have a single bus driver complain about their bus not getting through the snow. So even when the roads got snow covered, there was more bite because it wasn't packing down below onto the road.
Yeah.
And I don't have a plow on my, I will this year have a plow on my brine truck. But last year I was just driving the brine truck around. I had no plow on it. So.
And it has been
I'm sorry.
It has been successfully for you to do selected areas with the brine, and you're always, of course, keeping your eye on the weather forecast to understand what might be coming.
Yeah, and then I'm real good with Greg at Jefferson County, and we actually talk every snowfall because I'm way on the other side from where they are. So I kind of feed him information, and he feeds me information. So it's a good rapport, and I think that in the future it's going to be a way to go, especially around water. More so around water is what I know for a fact that Palmyra at the meeting, everybody raved about it, and to get people that live on the lake to rave about something that changes pretty. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying
Right, yeah.
actually notice it.
When there's a lot of shade up there.
Well, and that's why I put this forward. I put this forward because it is one of the goals in the Rock Lake Management Plan to encourage the town to install a system of brining so that we can regulate the amount of chloride that we put on the road. So that was my goal. I was not prepared for his reaction to totally refuse to do that. I thought that the material is very handy for us here at the, on the north side of I-94, provided by the county, and the cost is certainly reasonable. It is one of the county goals to use the brining technique too, but it just seems that our current contractor will not do that. So that's kind of where we're at.
What would it, or how would you charge if we did use Jim's idea, which I think is a good idea, to do a subdivision, Sherwood Hills, shade?
I have to give it some thought, because I know you buy it, right? What I would like to do is I'll just be out, right, put all the paperwork out there and show you how I work it with Palmyra, so that you actually know how it works, because that's the only way it's profitable to me.
Okay.
And if that doesn't look like it works for you, then it would be hard for me to drive this Exodus that's just.
Well, that's the next thing, yeah.
I mean, when I'm sending my whole fleet, that's why it went so well that I doubled my size of brining, and I'm actually probably gonna look at a way to make brine myself. Because it's not hard.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's just injected water, yeah.
And it does stay mixed, which is very, it's, as long as you do that 2.5, it's probably got a better number than that. I'm just throwing that number out because that's the number they use in their paperwork. So I know that if you call Ed Miller, I don't know if you know him from over in Palmyra, he would tell you that, yeah, it was a very, very big success around the lake, all the way around. The whole, with the people and with
water count, everything.
Well, regardless of what we pull together with Ron, I think that we are going to need to approve and sign this
Yeah.
snowplow
Oh, right,
contract.
So we struck the one line that about brining under item number 9.
Yes,
Okay.
We'll need to add Jim's name under supervisor 2.
Yes.
I missed that, apologize.
Yes, I saw that.
and then we can sign that and return it to Forrest. And if you would, Ron, pull that together and we can discuss that at another meeting as the snow begins to blow.
Do we need to approve then this as a contract with those few changes?
Yes,
We can approve it
yes.
and I'll get it signed with this.
So I will make a motion to approve the contract as printed with the changes that we prescribed. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of signing the final draft of the snowplow contract with Forest Landscaping and Construction, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Thanks, and thanks for your input, Ron. Item B, discussion and decision on setting a date and time for the fall road tour. I've done an extensive amount of driving around with Ron, and a lot of stuff has been done. Ron is still working on some things, and we'll talk about that a little later. I do not think our road tour has to be a major deal. I also have included in the back of your sheet, kind of tried to prioritize for Ron by area on this sheet that I made that's titled Town of Lake Mills Fall Road Tour List. On the back is, we've had this problem with failing signs. Oh
They're
my
fading
God, I
like
keep
crazy.
making the list. I just added 2 more tonight.
Okay.
This list I will forward to you, Robin. I think we need to get these ordered.
Okay.
And
But
I
do
will
have others to order, so.
also forward it to Ty Barnes at the county, and
Ty?
he will pick them up.
Ty or Todd?
Ty,
Ty,
Okay.
the county shop.
and he's our sign guy.
Yep. So do I, when I order the signs, do I order the road name signs through Lang, or will Ty order those road name signs? I know I order fire signs through Lang.
So they were all ordered through Lang. I think you should order them.
Okay.
He will then pick them up and install them. And I've been tried to be real clear on here. Some signs are faded on both sides, but most signs are faded only on one side. So it's
Okay, I
really
don't-
screwy. Well,
And I
you'll
think
look
they're
at my
just
list.
one- Yeah, and I think they're just one sign. I don't think there's 2 put together. I think
No,
it's just gonna
there's
have
one
the
sign.
brand
And
new
we already
sign.
did a whole bunch last fall and winter.
Okay.
Because we already had a bunch of failing ones. Not 20 like I have now.
Okay.
It's kind of confusing to me. I was thinking today, the Finch Brothers Road sign is not that old. How many years has it been there? It's more faded than any of them. Shorewood Metal Circle, way faded. I guess they're all about 15 years old.
Yeah.
So if you guys would be a little observant as you drive around and make some notes, it would help me, because we tried, Ron, but I still didn't pick up all the signs, and there might be some that we've missed, so we'll look at that. You want to make some more notes on this, it should help our fall road tour to go a lot smoother. I was suggesting, I asked Dave when he was gonna start picking corn, and he said that he has no idea, maybe January. What would you think of, you said the 19th is bad for you?
No, I was thinking, I was a week ahead. I don't have anything yet for
Either
next
the
week.
19th of September, which is a Thursday, or the 20th, which is a Friday. I promise you it will not take more than a couple hours.
I can make either one work. Jim, whatever you got.
19th.
19th, a
Yeah.
Thursday?
I'd like to stay away from Friday
Yeah, me too.
if I hit them.
You want to pick a time?
I don't know, 8 o'clock?
Yeah, 8 o'clock. Meet here.
Meet here. You will need to post this, Robin, and I guess in the posting, if we decide that we are going to make a decision on the resolution over the conveyor, then we will add that to the agenda, and we will meet here, have that meeting first, and then go on our road tour.
Can we sort of decide on the, like, at what point we need to know that information in order to post it, so it's not like,
Well, yes, let's decide.
like, what's the drop dead deadline for them to say we're ready to make the Or we have something to decide on.
You
Like,
mean the
choose-
conveyor
the feedback,
material?
yeah, the feedback material coming back to us to make a decision on
Well,
17th?
let's ask to have that by the 17th,
Okay,
and that way we'll be able to post it. I think you should post it ahead regardless.
okay,
If we're
just in
not,
case.
and we're not ready to do that, we can simply just do the road tour.
Okay.
Okay. Also gotta do our pacer readings before the end of the year, so I guess we felt like I really thought we couldn't skip this. But you guys look at those lists and help me if you can. Moving on then, discussion and decision of setting a date and time for a town budget workshop. Again, where did the time go? I'm looking at perhaps Wednesday evening, the 16th of October.
I would have to check to see when our fire commission meeting is.
Okay,
I think we'd be fine in the week of the 20s.
okay.
And I may not have all of the information yet from the state by that time. I know some of the information, it's a little late getting to us to know some of the budget
Okay.
numbers.
Would it help to move it a week later?
I think so.
Okay, so what about the 23rd of October?
Fine.
Hopefully we'll have all those details. We never have it all. We may
No,
never
no.
have it from the city until
So we might have
April.
a pretty good estimate of, but
Where we'll be.
what time are we looking at?
I'm thinking 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Earlier the better, right?
6 p.m.
6 o'clock it is then on the 23rd. All right. Item D, discussion and decision on dry hydrant maintenance and replacement. I was able to get a hold of a company called Phil something or other, and they camera sewers. He did not call me back. I then in turn turned to S&S Plumbing to see if Ed Spiegelhoff would help us. He told me that he is completing a lot of the lead lateral work and he would have time to look at our dry hydrants before the lake gets hard and cold. He also has a working relationship with Phil's electric cameraing, and he was gonna get back to me on when that might happen. So there is some work being done on that. Guess I just have to be patient and wait for the plumber to call me. I'm sure it'll be on the coldest day of the year. E, discussion and decision of the resolution for approving and authorizing an application to the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands, State of Wisconsin, for a loan of $369,000 for the trust, from the trust funds of the State of Wisconsin to the town of Lake Mills for the purpose of financing road work. I see you provided us with a summary from the Commissioner of Public Lands. You guys have reviewed this. Our rate is locked in. We will need to complete the resolution tonight and the rest of the items on the checklist. When do you think we would possibly be receiving the cash for this project?
You said from the start of this process, it was 45 to 30 to 45 days. So I would say that I would think probably within a month. They meet twice a month, to
Yes.
review these.
All right. Well, let's get this resolution passed and go from there.
Also to decide on a disbursement date and amount. So we should figure at least 30 days out, I think. Best estimates of the application.
You're telling me what?
Looking at this one here. I think it's closer to the front of their packet. One more. Yep.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we're gonna need those funds in October. I'm pretty sure that bill is gonna be coming.
I just received it.
Since the work
It's got a
was.
30-day term on it, how's that?
All right, so I'm pretty sure we're gonna need that in October.
All right, so we'll put the date on. I'll maybe talk to the gentleman that I've been working with and ask him what the soonest date we can put on there and go from that. Now, the disbursement amount, should that be the full amount right off the bat?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So the resolution is where?
This first page here, and it starts with,
This.
it's part of it, yes. It's kind of a long document.
I think it starts right here.
Here we are.
It's on page 2, right? So, here.
I guess I better read it, huh?
That one.
We, the undersigned town board supervisors of the town of Lake Mills in the county of Jefferson, Wisconsin, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 24 of the Wisconsin statutes, do hereby make application for a loan of $369,000 from the trust funds of the state of Wisconsin for the purpose of financing road work. The loan is to be continued for a term of 2 years from the 15th of March preceding the date the loan is made. The loan is to be repaid in annual installments provided by law with the interest rate of 3.75% per annum. We agree to the execution and signing of such certificates of indebtedness as the board may prepare and submit, all in accordance with Chapter 24 Wisconsin statutes. The application is based upon compliance on the part of the town with the provisions and regulations of the statutes above referred to as set forth by the following statements, which we do hereby certify to be correct and true. The meeting of the town board of the town of Lake Mills in the county of Jefferson, Wisconsin, which approved and authorized this application for a loan, was a regularly called meeting held on the 10th day of September 2019. At the foresaid meeting, a resolution was passed by a majority vote of the members of the town board approving and authorizing the application to the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands, State of Wisconsin, for a loan of $369,000 from the state trust funds of the state of Wisconsin to the town of Lake Mills in Jefferson County, Wisconsin, for the purpose of financing road work. That at the same time and place, the town board of the town of Lake Mills, by a majority vote of the members, adopted a resolution levying upon all the taxable property in the town a direct annual tax sufficient in amount to pay the annual installments of principal and interest as they fall due, all in accordance with Article 11, Section 3 of the Constitution and Section 24.665 of the Wisconsin statutes. A copy of the aforesaid resolution certified to by the clerk as adopted at the meeting and recorded in the minutes of the meeting accompanies this application. A statement of the equalized value of all the taxable property within the town of Lake Mills certified by the clerk accompanies this application. Given under our hands in the town of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, this 10th day of September 2019, with the signatures of the town chair and the town clerk. Also with the signatures of the supervisors and
my certification.
Your certification. That's about all,
Yep,
huh?
and then it goes on and it records what the votes were.
Right, and
For
records
record.
the vote. And so I would make a motion to approve the resolution to borrow $369,000 at an interest rate of 3.75, and that we make these payments over the next 2 years on the 15th of March.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. We will need to have signatures at the end of the meeting, so don't go home until we're done.
Got a lot on there.
All right, item F, a review of highway budget, additional projects, brushing, grading, graveling, Ron is here, he'll speak to this and we'll speak to him. I appreciate you putting this all together, Robin. It pretty much recaps the whole year.
Just an update, yep.
As you see, we have put aside the $30,000 we thought we should for early snow. We still have
$74,000.
$74,790.68, of which part of that is going to be, what did I say, $3,200 for the cleanup dredge. I guess we're kind of here.
70.
Yeah, so we've got close to $70,000. I want Ron to work through his list. I want you guys to look at that list. On the list are, I guess we probably have most of the potholes filled. We have some gravel and grading on our list. We also talked about these gravel and grading projects that have been dragging behind, and they are at the very end. The Ferry Park boat launch, which I looked at today, and with the rain last night, whoa, baby. We have looked at this. There's an old existing culvert out there, and I've given Ron the go-ahead to get some gravel and grading and to find that culvert and get the drainage in Ferry Park better. Also, we looked at Majala Shores, the gravel and the grading and the big puddles that are there in that area of the sewer pumping station. And a little lower on my priority list is Bean Lake Road and its approach to the natural area, but it too is in really bad shape. I guess those are the bigger projects here. There is still some gravel and grading. Ron and I talked about Schollmeyer Road infinitum, and I have written here, seek a solution to the mess. Maybe we can come up with something for that. Guess we'll decide that as we go along. We're gonna have to put aside some money for,
I was gonna say the signs
For
and then
signs.
some of the tree trimming from the snow plowing contract.
and those those 3 manholes that Jason is insisting that we repair.
We cut them out today.
Did you? And they're not on the list, so that'll be done.
We already cut them. The other day was, this morning was a good day to do that.
Yeah.
So they're cut out. And we actually cut them wide because like where they've actually settled and then raised back up again, the axle would actually drop down. So if we just blended it to it, we'd be making a bigger plow. So we're 3.5 feet from the outside edge all the way around. We're gonna do the square patches, they're all gonna be exactly the same, so we should all be real close to the same price, unless we pop them up and find out they need some kind of 3/4 base or something. If something's soggy under them, we're gonna fix it.
I guess, keeping in mind what our budget is, I guess I'd like to see those invoices and get caught up in October, and then we'll be able to determine if we want to go further on our gravel and
Everything's
grading.
sent. I would have thought you would have got it by now.
I haven't gotten anything for the manholes yet.
Oh no, then we just
Potholes.
cut the manholes today.
Yeah, the potholes, we just paid $16,000.
Right.
The potholes, and then there's
And that's out of this.
graveling, because they've done the shouldering.
Yeah, there were 2 invoices we paid this
Okay,
month, so.
all right, good.
And then I was going to mention to you, I just sent 2 guys to arborist class today. They're going to be going to get their arborist certifications, and then I and Jerry are going to be going to Madison to a 2-day certification on asphalting, because now you're mixing concrete with asphalt now. They have been doing that, but I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I mean, all the townships we did, yours kind of got to be the last one because you guys were the ones that were taken on last. But we have had no roads, any of the patchwork we've done, we've had nothing come up at all. And that's out of 5 towns.
I'm very pleased with what you've done so
I
far.
think that the way that asphalt's getting made now, and getting the type of asphalt we did for Panhandle really paid off. But this class is going to teach us, it's actually going about the boring, when we're talking about boring these samples. It's probably way beyond what I'm going to do, but at least I'll have knowledge on that. And then the arborists, once they get done with that arborist class, I'm only telling you so you know that I'm trying to make my guys well-rounded. The
as soon as they get done with the arborist class, the first part of the arborist class is just learning about trees, period, and growth and basic cuts. The second part would be teaching them how to cut, what to cut, and if you're cutting something that's got a disease, to let the township know they have trees that have a disease so that you can spray them and keep it from spreading out in your town. You know, like if you had oak wilt. You sure wouldn't want to go take the chainsaw that you cut a tree that had oak wilt and go cut another tree that has it, because now that tree has it. Stuff like that they're going to be learning.
Okay, good. I'm really pleased with what you've done, and I want you to keep working. I want you to get Ferry Park cleaned up. And go for Elm Point, Majala Shores. You saw those things we looked at. We'll go from there. All right, thank you. And thank you for attending our meeting. We'll look forward to your grinding presentation.
We need to know how much our payment in March is going to be for Newville, for Newville Road.
I think I just got an email on that. I think that just got sent out.
Because anything over that 150's got to come out of this 70.
Some part of it.
Right. Because now this is going to be the second payment on Newville, so Newville will be paid for. So next year we take the first installment for airport. The March of 2021.
I got it here, just give me a second to pull up the.
Sure, that's fine.
It's fine.
I don't know if you're gonna even have it. That's good.
It is. Total amount due March 15th, 2020, $144,180.82.
Okay,
Half of it.
so we're under the 150, so we don't need to use any of that
okay.
70,000.
Yeah, we're trying to keep up to speed with what you guys been doing here.
Right, well, we're authorized by the electors to spend $300,000 every other year. So that's $150,000 per year.
Per year.
Anything over $150,000 has to come out of the highway budget. So we stay with what our, and that's why I was curious, because at 144,000 we are under the 150. So then that 70,000, we're gonna have to come up with a place for it, because I don't think we can cash apply. Can we get a budget? Because if the IRS gets a hold of that, they're gonna.
No, you want to spend it all.
Yeah, we gotta spend it.
I just forwarded that to you guys. So you have
I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Probably not.
Probably not. I mean, it's easily done. It's just that,
I don't think
you
it's going to be
know,
a problem.
it is September.
Well, and there's plenty of brushing work left to
Oh,
do,
yeah.
and these grading and gravel projects. I mean, if we could get that stuff up to snuff, we'd be golden into next year.
I can't remember the name of the road, I apologize, but there was one road we knew needed to be shouldered, and we said it had to be mowed before we shouldered it. And we were gonna try to shoulder that. Do you know when you're gonna send it mowing person?
Well, I talked to our mower. He should have started a long time ago. I heard he had an accident with his equipment, so we were not in such good
There's
shape.
another cost that's gonna be coming out of
Yes,
the money we
right.
still have. Do you know how much a mowing costs approximately?
$3,800.
Yeah, I was gonna
4,000.
say between $3,000 and $4,000.
And that depends on if you're gonna have them mow the total right away wherever you possibly can to come in, you know, because that's kind of Bud's request.
Try to think what it is.
He's by his.
You're right, yeah.
He mows his side of the road. Why
He
don't
does.
you mow the other side?
Can't remember which one it is, Ron.
Yeah, Jerry told me this morning.
All right, we'll keep working on it. We'll come back and forth. Keep going, though.
Yeah, well.
All right. G, board expense sheet approval. I see you have one, Robin.
Yep, I got some mileage. Did you have your mileage from that meeting we went to or no?
No. Nope, I won't turn anything in.
I want to add something, I'm sorry. I don't know how to do that with you guys, I forgot something to tell you.
Go ahead.
Did you keep
Where you guys
that
have
letter?
that,
You kept that letter.
Do you need it
Yeah,
back?
no,
Want
no.
to dredge out?
I just want to make sure you
The
have
name
it.
of the water.
I don't, you do not to talk.
Okay, just
I didn't know if you knew that. I was out driving around when we went to the
My
cutting.
husband called me at 8:15 and said there's water over the
Yeah, it
road.
was pretty flooded.
All right. Item 11, correspondence.
Correspondence. It looks like we've got some correspondence back and forth from Wolf Paving about project updates. We've got an email from Lexi Lovejoy about plowing on what is supposedly Deer Lake Lane.
What'd she say? She wants plowed?
Yes.
Yeah,
She wants to plow it at the crack of dawn.
Not plowing, are we?
No,
No.
we can't
And
spend any
I think
money on
you've
it.
told her that, correct?
Not plowing any of them.
I told her that we have Rather Road on our schedule and that Deer Lake Road is not our road and that we will continue to plow her out, but she will not be able to dictate the time, the place. Encouraged her to go back again and talk to the town board of the town of Deerfield about her needs and or to make other arrangements rather than to start calling me at 6 in the morning on the snowiest day of the year. But
So we're gonna plow Rather Lane.
we have to plow. Well, I was told flatly, I mean, I told you guys this before when I went to Deerfield, they're not having anything to do with Brown Lane or Rather Road. Even if we paid them to do that, they do not want to take on that responsibility.
Okay.
And there was no rationale for that, even though they usually get there before Forrest does and usually plow her out in a timely manner. They will not accept cash for that service. There's no sense to this.
Right, yeah, the only thing is Jim had brought up a point before of, Body Lane, so we cannot spend any money on doing anything on that road, or you could end up in court.
Well, I don't know how that road got a name. As far as I'm concerned, it's a private driveway.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
And maybe when we're on a road tour, we'll take a tool and take the
was
sign
Deerfield.
down.
Deerfield named it.
Yeah,
did it?
they did it and they placed the sign because we didn't do it.
I'll just make a suggestion that we write her a letter saying that we are not responsible for that road.
Happy to write her.
Not, just so we, not just phone calls.
Yeah.
It'll come back to us.
All right.
Additional correspondence, I had a rural mutual agent contact us and wanted to have an opportunity to bid on our insurance when it comes due again. I'm not sure when that is. Is that in the spring?
I think it's in the fall. I don't remember actually.
Okay, well, just so I
We're gonna
know.
keep her,
Keep the
you know, we
information.
did that once before and there was,
Just so you know.
oh yeah, this is a real nice, exciting email that I think I should read and you guys can talk to me about it. This was just received today through Leverton. Attorney Leverton, I hope this email finds you well. I am Bo Bediga, an attorney for Newberg, Griggs, Sweet and Schreier, LLP. I am working with attorney Andrew Griggs on behalf of the Jefferson County Farm Drainage District. The district was awarded a judgment against the town of Lake Mills in the amount of $10,419.50 in Jefferson County Court Case 17CV1170. Attorney Griggs has been in contact regarding satisfaction of that judgment. However, both Attorney Griggs and I have become concerned with the lack of progress towards that end. The district will proceed with a garnishment action against the town for said amount if the judgment is not satisfied shortly. Please reach out to discuss this matter further. I am more easily reached at our Watertown office. Thank you for your attention in this matter.
So when did we receive this information about this judgment? Because it makes it sound like it's late already.
I never have received anything about a
I
judgment.
have not either. This is the first I've seen of this.
Besides that, I thought as long as we took care of the rocks that were impeding the water, that was all gonna go away, and we did that, a year ago in June or July. So unless it was never taken off the books.
I do know that the water has been too high in the creek because it is flowing very freely. to do the annual bridge inspection, but I guess I'll lean back on Jefferson County to see where the bridge inspections are at. I don't know how I would ever have known about the judgment.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll wait to hear a response from
Normally-
Leverton.
Yeah, I was gonna, it's my understanding a lot of that comes electronically to the attorney that's representing.
So I guess we have to wait and see, because he does have Leverton's information. That's the bad news for today. The Drainage Board won't go away. Item 12, meeting scheduled. October 1, 2019, Joint Rock Lake Committee at 6 PM at the City Hall. October 1st, 2019, Plan Commission Board meeting at 8 PM. October 8th is our regular town board meeting, and then the two other dates that we put forward, September 19th
At 8 a.m.
8 a.m. and
October
October 23rd at 6. I would make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.